big news. I have some important news for you.
Interesting news.
It's Blake and Aaron's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Brought to you exclusively on Kiss FM by J. Michael, fashion for everyone. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning, Blake and Aaron. How are you guys doing?
All right. What do you got for us on this Thursday morning?
Fantastic. We got lots of good stuff. So yesterday, we were telling you guys that unfortunately in the morning, there was a fatality to report.
Yeah.
And the hit and run driver, it took the police a minute to locate him. Apparently, he was literally on the run. And so yesterday, I would say late morning, maybe early afternoon, they finally took him into custody, and he was located in the bushes of North Side.
Wow.
Hiding out. So,
and how did they know who it was?
that's a good question. I think that people at the time of the incident might have seen him. And so they had a fairly good idea. They had a good, make of the vehicle and stuff as well. Although the police report still has gotten the vehicle make wrong. Someone pointed that out. They're like, that's not what the police are saying it is. Look at the emblem on the vehicle. But anyway, I think they had a pretty good fix on him. And he was in communication with his relatives afterwards, who were encouraging him, as we did as well, to turn himself into the authorities.
So wait, you know him?
Know of him. Don't know him personally, but yeah.
Okay.
But very, very, very sad situation.
Very.
Yeah.
So the police were very busy yesterday because they've also arrested at least at least 3 of the 4 robbers in the jewelry store heist.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty crazy, like right there, middle of the day.
Crazy.
Yes. So they moved swiftly, apparently. And they've got these guys in custody already. And so kudos to the RCIPS. Very busy couple days.
You know what I liked back during the lockdown was when the police would do their press conference on crime in general. It was by the chief. It was very informative, interesting, just to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel like they're not out there, but they are. It's just nice to get that reinforcement when we're told what's going on behind the scenes sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. So Governor Roper has left the Cayman Islands. He received a warm send-off yesterday afternoon. He was actually at the airport. There was a few people that did a send-off at the airport for him as well. He said he was obviously very, very grateful for his 4-year tenure here. And, he moves on to spend some time with his family. He did say in our program that his wife was really keen. Apparently her mother's still very much alive. And she's keen to spend some time with her mom and just reconnect. It's been the last couple crazy years in light of COVID and everything else.
Yeah, so even down to the hours prior to his departure, the governor was out and visiting and serving the country up until he boarded the plane last night. So absolutely,
yeah. So he's going to be retiring from, the current government entity that he's with. So don't know what's next for him professionally, but I think in the meantime, they'll be just having some good family time, quality time with the family.
Prime Minister.
So the Cayman Islands is hosting the first leg of the Pan Am Aquatics Open Water Series. That's going to be held at 7 Mile Beach. And everybody's looking forward to it. So congratulations to Cayman for that. Apparently we have a aquatic sports association that is going to be involved in all of that. So congrats to everyone. Those are your news headlines.
And you're off tomorrow, you said?
Yes, I'm off tomorrow. I'll be back on Monday.
What you doing? You traveling?
Stuff.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right.
Have a fantastic day.
Have a great weekend.
All right.
Enjoy.
Bigger, better, bolder.
The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's community radio.
We are still spilling the tea.
And committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
Come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman,
Live, direct.
it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
All right. Good morning, beautiful Cayman Islands. How is everyone doing? The beautiful, beautiful people of the Cayman Islands, to be more grammatically and technically correct. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. So where do we begin? We begin with our manners, honey child. Honey child. I had a little treatment on my face yesterday. Ugh, looks a little bit close up this morning. What can I say? We're live and direct. Yes, we happy to be here. Let me try something here now. Oh, I think that should be. I think I should have restarted the computer yesterday. Anyway, never mind. I'm happy to be here, folks, and we are delighted to be bringing you all the latest updates, which we will do this morning. But like I said, manners first and foremost. Good morning to Miss Vernita. She says, Miss Sandy, you have shown and helped in the time you have. Have a blessed day, which you get your blessings through helping Jesus' poor and needy. That's sweet. She says, you've helped a lot of people from around the world, more than some of these so-called Christians and politicians. Have a blessed day. Keep up trying to rid our islands of corruption that don't work for us. And our forefathers / slaves went through too much to get us here. Government, all we want to prosper in our own country and take the rest. Well, that's a tall order, my love. That's a really tall order. What people want and what they get. And sometimes people think that they know what they want, but they don't know how to get there. And the truth of the matter is sometimes government doesn't know how to get you there either. And so these are the complexities of the world, my love. Trust and believe things are not always as easy as they seem. Running a country this size, I know appears on the face of it to be really, really easy. And sometimes I chuckle at how people oversimplify the solutions. Well, just throw this road over here, so. And I'm just like, what a hot mess. Doesn't quite work like that. Good morning to the lovely Scott. How are you? Scott, you and I need to catch up over something. Coffee or something. I know you drink coffee. I don't drink coffee, but there you go. Miss Omiria, where have you been? Miss Omiria says that he had a beef with one of the guys he hit. He meant to kill the other one that is living. Long story. What? Are you kidding me? This can't be real. You mean he may have purposely done this? Oh my God. That's, to even think that could be a possibility is really, really shocking. What? I mean, the assumption is he was just drunk, I understand that he's had a drinking problem. And he's been told to stop drinking for his own health. But, we're not always able to do the right thing for our own health. So, my goodness, I can't believe it. Wow. That's crazy. That is really crazy. I don't know what to say about that. Yeah. It's like I need to squat in order to I could do squats here in the morning. So my head doesn't get cut off. I'm gonna process that information, Miss Amira, because that's a lot to take on this morning. My brain is kind of like, what did you just say? Sometimes you need a minute for the brain to take it all in. Miss Amelia Honeychild, she's here. Always blessed and victorious in the Lord. Appreciate it. She says, what you talking about? You off tomorrow? God's will, Honeychild. Yes, I'm taking the day off. I got things to do, places to see, places to be. Yes, unfortunately, I will not be here tomorrow morning. Miss Dory's in the house. Alice is here. Lynette is here. Miss Beulah, how are you? Debbie, so good to see some of our regulars. Megan, how are you doing? Good morning to the beautiful Megan. Lynette's having a little chuckle. Something touched her funny bone. Wee Wee's here. Marshall's got it locked on. Strong Will says, good morning, Sandy. You look beautiful today. George and Frank need to see you today. God bless your heart, shall we can say God bless their little hearts too. Because, they might really need it too. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Debbie says, serious accusation. It is. I mean, I don't know how you prove that, though. How do you prove that it was intentional? Wow. Good morning, Catherine. Hero Blair says, Bishop Hero Blair says, I'm here. Good morning. No school tomorrow. When you get a little day off from school, you'd be happy. Yes. Diamond Princess has got it locked. Yasmin is also here. Good morning to you. How are you? Felicia and Daisy and tons of other people. Hello. Good morning to the beautiful Cayman Islands. All right. What's trending this morning? Musamira says that her East End source called her and told her that. And she's a diehard East Ender. Well, let me talk about that for a minute. Because East End people are very special in a lot of ways. And I tell you what, they are diehard all the way. And they're also different. They do things a little bit differently. So yesterday morning, after we posted actually asking the young man to turn himself in, I was taken aback by the comments on Instagram in particular. Because, Instagram tends to draw out a much crazier crowd than Facebook. It's just the nature of what it is. Some of them are younger and they're just a little bit crazy. And so they say things on Instagram that Facebook users don't really get into. Yeah. IG is legit crazy. So some of the people were like, oh, you better turn yourself in before them people of East End get a hold of you. I was like, what on earth is going on here, y'all? Calm down in the East now. I mean, like, we hope that he best pray police get to him first. I was like, what? EastEnders riding like that with each other? Ooh, honey, child, y'all need to calm down now. You don't want to be harming anybody. Let the police do their job. And so, we got a phone call from someone connected to him to say that he was really, really scared. And he was, they were trying to talk him into turning himself in. Again, I don't know why you'd be scared, because I would have thought the safest place for you to be is actually with the police. I mean, when you think about it, especially people, them East End people saying you better turn yourself in because anyhow we find you, it's a problem. I would want to bet my bottom dollar that, you just turn yourself in. The police will protect you if you're in custody, don't they? So, They eventually found him in the bushes of North Side, apparently. So does that mean, because listen, you guys know I got the phone call. Oh, 1 second. Chuck is calling me. Good morning, Chucky. No problem. Oh, you're not? That's weird. It says I'm connected. Huh. Okay. Let me refresh. Yeah, I'll log out and I'll log back in. All right, thanks. All right, honey, thank you. Oh, honey, child, nobody in radio can hear me this morning. Oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on. Let me just log out of that one. Oh. Oh yes, thank you. I'm seeing your messages now. I wasn't even looking. All right, let me see now. Let me log back in, honey. Not sure what's going on. It said it was connected. Mic levels looked good. So let me just reconnect. Okay. Select destination. Oh, now it's not letting me select destination. Oh, there we go. All right. Hopefully that fixed that issue. Yes. I didn't see anything on my end that looked weird. Let me know, Chucky. I thank you. I thank you for the phone call because clearly I was not reading my messages. Yay. Yes, honey, chill. All right. No sound yet. Oh, that's weird. All right. Let me just check everything. Give me 1 second now. So we're looking good with that setting. So the computer settings look good. I don't know what's going on. The radio, I mean, it says I'm connected. And I've got audio levels that look good. Wow. I don't know what's going on. Let me see now. Yes. Let me double check something. It's a bit strange, I must say. That should be it. I don't know. Somebody says just reboot the computer. All right. Give me a second. All right. I don't know what's going on. Very bizarre. Okay, give me a second. I shall restart, but legit everything, all the audio settings look good. Oh, Yasmin says that's why I switched over because I wasn't hearing your radio. Oh. All right, let me cue up some music. Hold on 1 second now. Because we do have guests, and I want you all to hear my guests this morning. So give me 1 second. Let me, all right. Let me get some music going, perhaps. Yes, let's play our beloved Isle Cayman tune, and I'll be right back. All right, good people. We're going to check and see if the radio land can hear me. We just restarted the computer, so let's see if that fixes anything. I don't know. Good morning. Alejandro is here. Says that's all districts in general. George Shillette says can't hear you in Bobo. Yes, we're trying to get that sorted out. We're aware that there's like a little one of those little troublemakers in the wires, pulling all the wires out somewhere. I don't know. But we shall see what is going on there. Hopefully, it's good here in a second. Chuck is just checking it for me. Mhm. All right, so let's give him just a couple of minutes there, folks, to check it out. Chuck is on the job. Yeah, for some reason he wasn't seeing me, but everything looked okay on my end, which is weird. Huh. Okay. All right. Let's give it just a few seconds, good folks. Debbie says that's so true. Love all of my Cayman peeps. One love. Cynthia says yes. Cynthia, it's all good now? No? Debbie says no? The radio frequency is 89.1 FM. I always assume that everybody knows that now, but yes, Bobo 89.1. Strong Will says, call Marlon. Oh my goodness. I know, right? Everybody thinks he's like the tech guru for everything. Marlon's like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not something I know anything about. Don't ask Marlon a Facebook or a social media question because he's just going to roll his eyes at you. He says, what? Me? Talk about what? Talk a bit. I am. I'm talking. Yes. So still not on, says Denise. Ooh la la. Maybe they need to reconnect me or re-add me. I think it has something to do with. Okay. Yeah, something renewed last night, and I do believe that maybe you need to redo it. I don't know. All right, let's give it a few minutes. We'll get it sorted one way or the other here, folks. Let me see now. All right, so in the meantime, let's wrap up our discussion about the situation with the guy. So I can disconnect again. Whoa. I can hear. I could hear you just now, Chuck. I could hear your commercial, which is weird because I've never heard that before. Okay, that's interesting. There's always something interesting. First time for everything. So let me log out and I will attempt to log back in. All right, folks. So yeah, so apparently they got the vehicle. Debbie says Al Jazeera has no source. I know, right? So apparently they got the his vehicle before they got him. And I don't really know where the vehicle was. Was it still in East End? Did he leave the vehicle at the scene? These are the details that I haven't quite been able. I mean, I'm assuming he took off in the vehicle. But wherever the vehicle was, they did confiscate the vehicle before they got to him. And so, the crazy thing is we knew, get a little message. Hey, Sandy, I just saw the police tow truck leaving with the vehicle. And I was like, oh, you did? Oh, thank you very much. So that's how we were able to get that exclusive photo of the vehicle at the I guess that's the police. I don't want to call it a junkyard, but that's where they take all accident vehicles that I don't know if it's just, I guess, any that are part of a criminal prosecution. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a vehicular homicide, but anything that's involved in an accident, they keep it there. And there's a lot of oh my gosh. If you want to get an idea of how bad the accidents are in this island, just go by, thank you, Sarah, the police traffic control location. Go by there and have a look at those vehicles. Man, they are mangled up. And where do they go? Um, hmm. I don't know why I can hear the radio. Um, Hold on. Hmm.
Make your car purr again. Come see us or call us at 328-875-109 Located next.
I'm going to kill that feed there, Chuck, because I'm not sure why I'm hearing that, because I can't hear something and talk at the same time, believe it or not. Not quite in that way. The brain just isn't capable. This is so bizarre this morning. I don't know what's going on. So, I don't know. Chuck, tell me when to reconnect. But yes, I'm hearing all of your stuff. Somebody says your sound is gone on Facebook. Really? Lord, it seems like it's getting worse. Is that possible? Well, we haven't done anything to impact the sound on Facebook. So I would be surprised if that has actually happened. Nothing's impossible, honey chill, but let me just see. Let me just check Facebook. Nope, Facebook is good. Lord, it seems like it's getting worse. Nope, Facebook is good, sir. So if the sound is gone, that means it's probably unique to you. So check that out. Good morning to Ms. Barbara. Good morning to Stephen. Melanie is here. She says, I've got sound on Facebook. And Daisy said, I can hear you well. Barbara confirms that Facebook is fine. Stephanie says Facebook is loud and clear. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Chuck is not hearing me. He's not seeing me. I mean, I'm not connected now. So let me try to reconnect one last time. Otherwise, we will just get this show on the road, folks. We do have guests that are waiting this morning. So we still got close to 300 people. Oh my gosh, over 300 people watching. So sometimes the show must go on. Good morning to Louie joining us from Detroit. Ooh, a brisk 22 degrees Fahrenheit, the high of 47. Ooh, that sounds like lovely weather. All right. Miss Charlene says Facebook is out and clear. Good morning, Miss Iva. All right. Well, I suspect we might have to just proceed without the radio this morning. Okay. All right. Let us, YouTube is good. All right. Let's just move on. In the meantime, if Chuck is able to get it working, that would be fantastic. All the settings look good though. Everything looks good. So I'm not really sure what is shaking, what's going on. Yeah, I don't know. This one's above my pay grade for sure. But I tell you what, who's been working hard above his pay grade and still getting lots done is none other than Jay Earhart. Jay, good morning.
Morning. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Good. Technical difficulties.
I
love it.
know, man. I tell you, it happens sometimes.
I'll tell you something. Chuck is working his butt off. I can see him doing it.
Oh, yes. I know he's on it. But good morning, and thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I'm great. This is my first time here. I'm pretty pleased. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
Normally, when someone's on CMR, you've been doing something naughty. So I'm happy to be here this morning.
Yes. Well, you know what? That's a little bit of. I feel like people, they kind of get that wrong.
I was kidding, obviously.
Yeah. That's but we have lots of wonderful people that come on that inform us about all sorts of good stuff that's going on. So of course we know that you're one of those individuals. We're happy to have you here today. And tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do, because people may not know about your involvement in CETA, because of course you've been wearing many hats over the years, right?
I have. I've been on island almost 30 years now, but I'm currently the executive director of the Cayman Islands Tourism Association. And our number one fundraiser of the year, every year, is the Taste of Cayman.
Yes.
That's just for me.
You get a big horn. I now understand we are live on radio as well. So wonderful.
Hey, Bobo.
Yes, Chuck. I knew he could do it. I don't know what he did, but.
So I'm the executive director of the Cayman Islands Tourism Association, and we run the Taste of Cayman event every year. And we haven't been able to do it for the last 3 years because of COVID. It's the number one fundraiser for our nonprofit organization. And we're so excited to have it back because it means so much more to the community and the people of the Cayman Islands than it does for anything else, because it really is the one time a year where we can all get together, break bread as a group of people, and share common stories and fun. It's a great place to meet your friends, meet your family, have a great time.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm excited about its return. I feel that, COVID stopped so many things and kind of disrupted our routine of life, so to speak. And I must say that in terms of like a food music festival, hands down, Taste of Cayman is like top notch, and it's my favorite event every single year.
It's going to be bigger and better than ever.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong. I mean, there's so many options there that you can taste from. And so tell us a little bit then about when the event is.
Sure.
And what can we expect this year? What's going to be bigger and better and bolder than ever?
Well, we're going to be amazing. It's May 13th at the Festival of the Green. So that's Saturday night, 5 o'clock to 11. It's Festival of the Green. Everybody knows the Festival of the Green, Cabana Bay. And it's going to have over 30 different restaurants. There's going to be the Ritz-Carlton, St. June at Ritz-Carlton VIP Hospitality Lounge. There's going to be, there's so many things. I've got to get a Bon Vivant demonstration stage, a kids zone, the photo booth, the Ministry of Sports, Youth, Culture, and Heritage, all things Cayman area, the Cayman Spirits Mixology Competition, fireworks, live music, you name it, it all happens. It's fantastic. It's everything it used to be, but better, because this year we also have wristbands instead of those big ticket things, when you used to carry all those tickets.
So this year you guys are going high tech with the wristbands, the way that people enter. So this is super cool. It's going to just make life easier, right?
It's a lot easier because everything I've ever heard of from any event in Cayman is like, it takes forever to get in line to get a ticket. Then you have to go get your food or your drink or whatever you get. So this was our number one priority, is we had to make sure that the experience was flawless and seamless, and it took the least amount of time to go do something. We want you to be able to go and get your piece of food and get your bite of this and your drink and go and do it right away. And it just, when you want more, go ahead. And the great thing is it'll be a phone top up, or if you want to pay cash, we'll have a booth right there. You could go just top it up.
Oh my gosh. I love the technology.
Yeah.
So a phone top up. Oh my gosh. So I can just add credit to my wristband from my phone.
Exactly. Oh, great.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
And of course, we'll see you there.
Yeah, absolutely. So May the 13th, folks, from 5 p.m. until 11 p.m. is going to be the Taste of Cayman Food and Drink Festival. Again, it's been a bit of a hiatus because of COVID, but now it's back, bigger and better than ever. Do you have a feel of how many participants in terms of restaurants you have so far?
I think we're going to get about 30. So that's the space is big. Don't get me wrong, but we are limited. We can't have everybody. I mean, we have over 200 restaurants here in the Cayman Islands, and it's tough to get them all involved. So we are being picky and choosy. We are getting to be able to say, thanks very much, but we've already got somebody doing that kind of food, so let's go to somebody else.
Nice. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing.
But some of your classics, I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to, but hey, I'm the boss. I can Heritage Kitchen's going to be there. A few other like fantastic, great Caymanian restaurants are going to be there. It's going to be great.
Yes. No, and it's always, I mean, like I said, it really gives the businesses an opportunity to showcase their cuisine. Sometimes they even will showcase something new and different just for this food festival. So, if you like trying out new dishes, or maybe you just haven't had an opportunity to really get out to a restaurant recently, this is a great time to be able to do so. So, of course, Easter is right around the corner.
Oh, yes.
So you guys have a bit of a special coming up. You're going to do a flash sale. So tell us a little bit about that and why you thought it was important to get people in with the early bird special.
Well, we know that inflation is hurting everybody right about now.
Yeah.
So, and the prices of everything has gone up. So we understand this. We're cognizant of it, and we're trying to do things to make it easier for everybody. So one thing we did do is we didn't change the children's fee to get in since 2019. So we thought that was important to keep it a family fun event. We didn't want to make it too expensive so families couldn't come. So it's still, right now, general admission prices are $60 for adults, $20 for children. VIP is $225 and $50.
Right.
But for this Easter special, just this Easter weekend only. So starting now through Easter, April 9th, you could buy a regular admission for $49. Less than $50 to try some amazing food and drink. For VIP, it's $200. So you're saving quite a bit of cash, and now's the time to do it. And we love the team at DMS Broadcasting. They're a fantastic group, which you're on Belleville right now. So we're going to be at the Field of Dreams on Sunday, April 2nd. From 10 to 1, we'll have a booth there. We're selling tickets right there as well.
Beautiful.
It's at their DMS Easter Fest there.
And beforehand, if you want to get those early bird tickets, go to the website, tasteofcayman.org.
Yep.
And you can do online sales. So this is fantastic.
It's super easy. It's so easy nowadays. And EventPro is a big sponsor as well. So you can go to EventPro, get tickets as well.
Right. So how does it work now? When you say I go online now, I'm going to get my early bird special, I pay for it. How do I get that wristband?
So a couple days before, we're going to open up like come and get your tickets type of thing.
Okay.
So we'll have a location. We'll announce where it's going to be. We might be at Cayman Bay. We might be at the Taste of Cayman offices on the Galleria Roundabout. We might be at the CAITA office. We're not sure yet, but we'll just say, all right, come and get your tickets. It's kind of like how you remember when Kaboo did their thing, you went and got all your stuff beforehand. And it's kind of like the marathon when you go and get all your registration package beforehand. It's the exact same kind of concept. So you get your wristband. It'll already be preloaded with all your tickets and all of that stuff. And then you can start topping it up from there.
Fantastic. And one of my favorite things, I'm kind of contemplating about entering this one of these days, are the competitions. So there is the heavy cake competition, which is fun. So there's also the Cayman beef competition. And of course, these are staple foods. If you're Caymanian, if you've been here long enough, you know that Caymanians love heavy cake, and we also love, Christmas time, especially, or Cayman beef. So those are two food competitions that will be, you can participate in, and there's registration information on the website that you can go and check out. Now, I've got this modification. I got to ask you a question, whether or not this would qualify, Jay. I've got this modification of the custard top cornbread. Would that be considered a heavy cake? I know most people do cassava cake, but I'm not really a fan of cassava cake. But would the custard top also be in the heavy cake category?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think if you, I think you try it and then let the judges decide.
Yeah, because I mean it's a winner. Anytime I make it, people just keep eating.
Yes. Do you make Cayman style beef at home too?
Yes, that's a slow process. It's like an all-night cooking.
Yeah, your family loves it.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I think you should do it.
So
I'm a judge. We haven't chosen who the judges are yet. So.
Well, I'm trying to lose. I'm trying to lose 50 pounds by August. So I'm trying not to do too much eating. But that'll be my day off. That'll be my no holds bar. Save a week's worth of calories because I'm going to eat it all at the Taste of Cayman event. So again, folks.
If you're interested, just email taste@tower.com.ky to get into those competitions. Taste@tower.com.ky. and it's a great a competition. I think it's one of the fun events that people like to watch.
Absolutely.
Tasty Cayman. Along with the mixology competition, which is always a lot of fun as well.
Yes.
And
people get very competitive too. I mean, I've heard people in the heavy cake category, they get very competitive. I'm like, oh, this is just fun. Relax. But yeah. All right, folks. So the event is coming up again on May the 13th. Save the date, put it in your calendar. And it's going to be at the Festival Green at Cayman Bay. Lots of parking. And, probably days or at least a week before the event, they're going to give all the instructions and where and how they're going to have the event organized in terms of parking so that you can, park and feel free to walk safely to the venue.
And of course, if you buy VIP, you get special parking.
Oh, that's worth it.
Oh,
for me, that. Yeah.
Well, and then you also get the VIP bathrooms, which is frankly worth it there alone.
Just in case. So again, folks, you've got general admission tickets. So adults will get 12 food and drink tickets. Children get 5 food and drink tickets. You get access to all of the restaurants, bars, and entertainment, which is going to be in the main stage. Do we have any information on the entertainment as yet?
We do. We have not announced it. I kind of hinted about it yesterday when I was on one of the DMS radio stations. It'll still be a tribute band. And I think it's going to be excellent. It's going to be very good, but I think we're going to save it for a big ta-da announcement.
Okay. All right. Well, we love exclusives here on CMR.
Yeah, I don't remember the actual name of the band. That's why I can't say it. That's
okay. All right. Well, when you know,
problem. I know what the concept is. I know what's going to be played. I know who they're going to be what's the word I'm looking for? Impersonating. But I just don't remember the name of the actual band. That's
okay. All right. We got you. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
it'll be very, very good. And since it's we should announce it today because today's or tomorrow because it's the end of International Women's Month. Here's a hint right there. There's a hint about who the artists might be.
Okay. There you go. All right. And there's going to be a CUC sitting area. There's Bon Voyant demonstration stage. So they'll be showing, I guess they're cooking different dishes and showing you how to cook different things.
Exactly. Just like we've done in the years past. It's a great opportunity to go out there and learn maybe new techniques and we'll have some of the chefs. One of the exciting things we're going to have is one of the top chefs, the top chef winner from Canada is coming down. And he's going to be there and checking out some stuff and maybe doing a demonstration. We might even have a dinner prior to. So little things like that's an exclusive as well. No one knows about that yet. So there's your exclusive, Sandra.
Nice.
The current Top Chef winner from Canada is coming down, and we're trying to do some things. We're working out what we're going to do when he's here, but we're going to have a lot of fun with him. He's really keen to be here and have a good time.
Nice. There's also a kids zone. There's the CG Brick Cave photo booth. So, you want to have these wonderful memories. I've got one from years ago with my daughter. I've got to dig at that picture. And she had on the little poncho. We were one at the Mexican restaurants. And so they had the little poncho and stuff. And she took a picture, super cute. The Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture and Heritage, All Things Cayman. They will have their area representing All Things Cayman. And there's going to be the Cayman Spirits mixology competition, fireworks. For VIP admission, it's the AI Rentals VIP admission. You get 25 food and drink tickets. So now this is important to know the difference. General admission is 12 food and drink tickets. VIP, you get 25, plus the child gets 12 food and drink tickets instead of 5. And then you get access to all of the general admission plus unlimited access to the VIP hospitality lounge, which has its own VIP bar and complimentary welcome drinks. And canapes hosted by St. June
at the Ritz-Carlton.
At the Ritz-Carlton. Ooh, the VIP sounds really lit, to be honest. VIP sounds
the Ritz-Carlton, they don't do anything badly.
Oh, yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
So,
priority parking, express entry, VIP bathrooms. You get one free experience. And what's the experience room?
That's going to be part of the Ministry of Sports, Youth and Culture and Heritage, is part of their All Things Cayman.
Oh.
So there's going to be an experience in there that we can do and experiences you can do.
And you also will have access to an exclusive main stage viewing area. So the VIP tickets are well worth it. Get them now while they're on sale.
So the VIP viewing will be a little closer up to the front for the band stages. Yeah.
Beautiful. And then tickets are going to be available at a number of different outlets. So let's just run through who those are. We got Blackbeards, all of their locations, Funky Tangs, both Hearst Road and Shedden Road, Diver Supply, Sports Supply, Office Supply, and the Tower Marketing Office, which is located in the Fidelity Building there on West Bay Road.
Right.
And of course, online.
Yeah, tasteofcayman.org and Event Pros. Don't forget about Event Pros. They're fantastic.
Yes,
Love those
absolutely.
guys. And we wouldn't be able to do
super.
it without those sponsors like them, like Event Pros, like AI Rentals, Cayman Bay, DMS Broadcasting, yourself here at CMR, the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism, the Ministry of Investment in Innovation and Special Development, the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture, and Heritage, St. Jude at the Ritz-Carlton, Logic, and of course Tower Marketing, and all the other fantastic sponsors that we have. We couldn't do it without them. We are nonprofit. As you can imagine, during the lockdown, we made no money. We had we couldn't charge membership fees during that time. We couldn't host fundraisers like Taste of Cayman. We lost money. We couldn't do anything, and as just like every other nonprofit in the Cayman Islands during COVID. So there was no breast cancer awareness gala. There was none of those events that are their major fundraisers of the year. So nonprofits took a huge hit over the last 3 years. So it's a really big opportunity for us to try and get back on our feet and get going again.
Yes. And of course, I want to do a big shout out to the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture, and Heritage.
Amazing.
Because they're all things Cayman section is going to be, just a wonderful platform to showcase Caymanian talent. They're going to have local choirs, bands, arts and crafts on display to just ensure that Cayman's culture remains really central to the heart of this festival. So please come out. You've got local vendors and artisans, craftsmen, traditional music and art presentations, and of course the Cayman beef and heavy cake competition is going to be part of that as well. So we just had Culture Day last week. So they've been doing a lot of wonderful things around culture.
We and I wanted another big shout out to the Department of Tourism. You talked about it on your show recently with the New York event, the Taste of Cayman New York event.
Yes.
They actually made it look like we were in Pedro at this event. It was a huge mural. The whole wall was just like, so this is a blank wall. They made it look like you're looking out of Pedro. They had all of the plants that were like indigenous from Cayman. It made it look like you're sitting in the gazebo of Pedro having a dinner. It was absolutely amazing. And it was journalists from all around the world, specifically USA people, but they reached the world, I should say. The Today Show people were there. I mean, a fantastic group of journalists to talk about Cayman and the culinary capital of the Caribbean. So big shout out to the Department of Tourism for doing that. It was fantastic.
Yes. And can we talk a little bit about that event? Because, it looked like it was fantastic. It was an opportunity for 3 female chefs.
Two chefs and 1 mixologist.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. And they went away representing the Cayman Islands. Yep. And, I think they got extremely creative with their dishes. I saw, for example, Sarah Sue gave like some vegetarian options for, was it a conch dish? And I thought, how do you make a conch dish vegetarian? Because she said it was a smash hit.
It was amazing. It was absolutely delicious.
Oh
and I think she used artichoke. I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was absolutely amazing. And Sarah Sue, amazing. Fantastic. Both chefs were fantastic. They did they tried to make a Cayman style beef, but they couldn't do it as well. But they did a great job. The food was spectacular. And then the mixologist paired it perfectly with everything. And of course, using the Cayman distillery drinks, it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So is this the first time you guys have done this New York event? Because the first I've heard about it. So I'm assuming.
It's the first time. I've only been with CIT for about 3.5 years now, or 3 years now. I took over in 2019, but before that, I was with the Department of Tourism for 5 years. So I don't remember ever, and of course, before that, I was in the media, but I can't remember reporting on something like this or an event like this where they teamed up with the CITA to promote Taste of Cayman. We dovetailed it pretty well into also promoting culinary capital of the Caribbean, but it was it really showcased what Cayman is all about as far as the food. Yeah, and go Sarah Sue. Agree, Debbie.
Yeah,
the food is fantastic.
Yeah. And in fact, I just messaged her because I was like, what was the ingredient? She said it's a secret. It wasn't artichoke, but it's a secret.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
So, sometimes a chef never reveals.
She did tell us.
There's a little extra sauce that you put in there.
So I was actually sitting across from, there was 2 vegetarian dishes, and there was somebody there was no alcohol. So the Maya, the mixologist, she actually had to make mocktails for this girl who did not drink alcohol. but
Oh.
it paired perfectly well as well. It was great. So
Mhm.
it was challenging for all three of the young ladies to try and make 2 dishes for everybody and then a 2 drinks for somebody. It was interesting.
Yeah. Well, Duran says he's happy to be a judge. Hashtag foodie.
You got it, Duran. Well, dude, send me a note. We'll see what we can do for you, buddy.
El Rey says, nah, that's not a heavy cake. Oh man. I was kind of hoping it could
Well,
be.
like
It
I said,
feels
let
heavy
the
when I take it
judges
out of the
decide.
oven.
Let the judges decide.
Right, right. Vicky says it's finally good to put a face to the voice. So
Uh-oh, hi, Vicky.
yeah,
I have a face for radio. It's true.
she says she knows that voice. Cameron, I think I've just answered that question in terms
Yep.
of what you're getting for each of the ticket categories.
And for $49, that's a steal.
Are you still accepting applications? First Lady wants to know, how does she sign up as a restaurant? So are you still taking restaurants on board, or is that kind of?
We will definitely consider it. Send us send me an email or send it to the taste team, taste@tower.com.ky. Taste@tower.com.ky. Send us an email. You've got to be a CITA member, but we can work on it outside. Hey,
Yeah,
Tracy.
yeah. All right, Tracy, it says, great chance to sample restaurants that you haven't tried before and support local. Look forward to it. Miss Olive, good morning. How are you? She's given thanks this morning. Cameron is asking if we can do a raffle. She looks like she's looking for a free ticket.
Well, we haven't well, no, I think she's talking, I might be wrong, but we used to have the raffle, remember? Part of Tasty Cayman, you'd win a car.
Oh.
And we haven't done that. The CITA hasn't done that in many, many years.
Yeah.
But it's something we talked about as a board in the past to raise funds. So we might stick it back in next year. We'll talk about it some more.
And Sarah Sue's here listening.
Debbie you're says, great, Sarah Sue. It was so nice to meet you in person. I talked about her on the radio when she was running back in the days and all that stuff. So it was so nice to meet her in person and shake her hand and see what fantastic food she made. She was fantastic.
I keep telling her, I don't know when it's going to happen, but she's going to become a top chef on this island. I think it's, sometimes you just perfecting everything. And then once you finally launch, you're going to be ready and you're going to knock it out of the park.
Women are really killing it in the food section. I mean, there's so many that are doing a great job. And I can't say enough wonderful things about the food that they make, the ingenuity that goes into what they create. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And Wayne wants to know whether or not Sarah Sue will actually be at the Taste of Cayman, and because he wants to try her food. So
it's a good question, actually. We haven't even reached out to her to do this, but
why not have those same 3 young ladies be part of maybe one of the demo competitions or something, so that
that's a great idea. Thanks, Sandra. I will bring that up to our team and talk about it. But I think with one of the events that Maya will be there with the demonstration for the Cayman Spirits Mixology. I think she'll probably be there.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. Because we know that Sarah Sue lives in the Bronx. It's hard to get to her food.
Yeah.
So we would love to have the opportunity to try some of these dishes. And I think anything that you can now make a vegetarian dish, we're all trying to eat a little bit healthier. We're getting to that kind of mid section and the mid years. So if we can have healthier veggie options and it still tastes great, I'm all for it.
Well, one of the restaurants, and I don't mind shouting out this restaurant as well. It's a brand new restaurant in Cayman Bay, the Edgy Veg. I don't know if you've been there yet.
No.
It's by where the old market, the Foster's Market used to be, right next door on the corner.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So they're going to be there as well. And I'll tell you, I've eaten there, and you would not know it's vegetarian. You wouldn't know.
Wow.
It's so delicious. It's so fantastic. It is just like amazingly delicious.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, what? That was vegetarian and vegan? It blew my mind.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, folks, again, J.A. Hart, CETA director, Cayman Islands Tourism Association. They do a lot of wonderful stuff. And by the way, go ahead and give a plug for CETA. People might be listening and thinking, why am I not part of that organization?
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. CITA.ky/registration. We're always looking for new members. We did have a drop off during COVID. Like I said, we weren't able to ask for people to be members. So many, the hardest hit industry in the country was, the water sports. And then of course the downtown merchants, the retail people down there. And we just lost a lot of membership because they just weren't able to pay the membership fee.
Yeah.
So we're welcoming everybody back, and we'll give you a deal. Give us a call. We'll work with everybody. But we represent all of these businesses to the government about ways forward for tourism. And I'll give myself a pat on the back. I think it's one of the reasons that we opened the way we opened is because of the work we did behind the scenes.
Mhm.
We didn't promote ourselves. We didn't talk about it, but we were working with the government hand in hand, creating the brochures, creating the procedures and policies
Yeah.
to reopen safely, to make sure that the spread of COVID did not happen here. So
Yeah.
we worked really hard and very hand in hand, and our board was fantastic with that. Can't say enough things
Absolutely.
about our great board.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I know a lot of the behind the scenes work that went into it, and
Yeah.
it wasn't easy. So
Yeah.
Sarah Sue says that she's only participated as a performer previously for Taste of Cayman, but she may consider showcasing her dishes. And Debbie says, please, please
go
do
and check
so,
it out.
Sarah
We'll do-
Sue.
We'll reach out to you through. and
Yes,
figure out how to
please
that
do. And of course, Gabby says, I've been dying to taste Sarah Sue's food. The pictures alone have your mouth watering.
It was fantastic. I want to say my wife and I were in New York for the event, and she said, "What was your favorite meal?" I was like, "The one you weren't at, the Taste of Cayman meal."
And we know New York's got a lot of great food. So
Yeah,
listen,
it was
Cayman in
fantastic.
New York is like, little island meets big city. It works.
It was delicious, and the venue was amazing. It was right in the middle of Little Italy. It was fun. It was really good.
Wonderful. All right, Jay. Sounds like you're off to a running start with Taste of Cayman. We'll catch up with you as we get closer to the event, I think, so that we can again hear how things are coming along. And folks, remember now, the Easter flash sale is on now. I don't know if they're going to have any other sales. So you know what? They say that the early bird gets the worm. So go out there and get your tickets now so that you're all set. Corrine says her food is so good. She was at the Seafood Festival a couple years ago. And I know something from Sarah Sue that I have tasted. She makes a mean seafood chowder that is like to die for. Oh my God. Oh, I'm making myself hungry this morning, Jay. Talking about all this good food. All right. So folks, again, save the date, mark it in your calendars. Taste of Cayman is back in a bigger, better, and more beautiful way. Get your tickets early, save a little bit of money on those flash sales. Go with VIP if you can swing it. You know what I'm saying? That little extra, special parking and VIP access areas, VIP restrooms. It all makes sense to go the savings that you realize with the flash sale that can, make you get the VIP ticket because you save that money. Yeah, for sure. All right, Jay, thanks very much for popping in. We really appreciate you.
Have a good one now.
All right, take care. All right, so everybody's saying yes, Sarah Sue, go do it. We really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Jay. So we do have another set of guests that are coming up here shortly. So in the meantime, while they're getting ready, we're going to spend some time just going over a few bits and pieces of news. So listen, big shout out to Chuck. Someone just, mentioned how much they appreciate Chuck. Chuck, did I send this to you? I don't think I did, but I'm going to send it now, honey chill. They say to give people roses while they're still alive and say thank you to people. So he realized apparently that he needed to just kind of re-add me to the system because I think it's like that means that today has been 1 year since we set up the access with the radio. So this is like our 1 year anniversary when you think about it. I can't remember the exact day we went live. It might be tomorrow would be an exact year, but pretty much this is like our 1 year anniversary of being on Bobo. Is that right, Chuck? I think Bobo is celebrating 1 year already. Yes, honey child. I love it. So thank you to Chuck and thank you to DMS who makes our reach so much broader because I know a lot of people can't always, watch it in real time on social media. And it's a lot easier to be able to listen on the radio, especially if you're stuck in traffic. What else do you have to do? And, I got to be honest with you. I'm always tickled pink the number of people that I come across who stop me and say, hey, I recognize that voice. I listen to you in the morning. I'm a fan of the platform. I'm a fan of the morning show. There's this guy. He works at one of the accounting firms. I can't remember his name now, but I hope he's listening this morning. Him and his son are always tuned in the mornings, and sometimes they go and use the pool at CIS. I think his son actually goes to prep, or I believe. And they go to use the pool at CIS. So sometimes I see them and he's like, oh my gosh, I know you. Really, really super nice guy. And so big shout out to you. I cannot remember your name. My apologies. But big shout out to you and your son and to everyone who really enjoys listening to the platform on Bobo and of course on social media. So yes, Tracy, I believe we are celebrating a little bit of an anniversary. She says another new year of the cold hard truth to tune into on radio. Yes. So Debbie, thank you for the flowers, honey child. Poor Jonathan. He's like, no, another guest. He's looking for drama. Jonathan, here's the thing with drama. I'm going to break it down for you and Johan because I feel like the two of you just love drama and you're full of drama. You're like sideline drama viewers. You get your little binoculars and you want drama every day. But listen, the drama in the sus isn't impactful if you do it every single day. It's like anything else. If you get sunshine all the time, you never enjoy the sunshine because that's just like the status quo. So when you get that rain and, well, we don't get snow, but for people who have the weather changes, they get rain and snow and all the other stuff. They get to appreciate the impact of the sunshine and the beautiful changes in the weather makes it so much more amazing. So I know in your youthfulness, you might not appreciate it, but one of these days, honey child, you're going to look back and you're going to say, you know what, Miss Sandy was right about a lot of things. And she was right about every day can't be drama filled. However, while we're waiting on our next guest to come, let me tell you all a little something. The RCIPS has been working extra hard lately. Y'all have noticed. Let me give them a big shout out this morning because in record time, and I don't know how they did it. I don't know what tactics they used, but in record time, they managed to arrest 3 of the 4, and I think number 4, they probably got him already, but 3 of the 4 people involved in Tuesday, was it Tuesday? What day is it? Yes, Tuesday's jewelry heist. That's amazing. I mean, I can't think of them arresting anyone so quickly for that type of a horrendous crime before. This is fantastic. So congratulations to all the detectives over the RCIPS who are working hard to make our community safer and sending a strong message that we will not tolerate you criminals making us feel unsafe in our own businesses, in our own homes, etc., in our own country. So I understand the streets are saying that they're Jamaican nationals. Shame on you because you make all Jamaicans look bad. We know the vast majority of Jamaicans are good, law-abiding people, but it's always the 10, 15, 20% that makes everybody look bad. Like, why? Why y'all got to be like that? You come here for an opportunity to work. You claim that you can't get a good job back home. This country welcomes you with open arms, allows you to get a work permit, yada, yada, yada. And then look at what you do. You come and rob people. That's not nice. Not nice at all. I don't like that. And it makes everybody feel unsafe and it does so much harm to the broader community. But honey child, I got to show y'all a video. I'm going to get this linked up here in a second. Let me see if I can find the URL. How does this go now? Copy link. Give me 1 second. So big shout out to Andre Stevens. You guys know that he's a big time blogger there in Jamrock. I met him when I went up to Jamaica the last time for the holidays. And he has an amazing following, by the way. Every time he goes live on his platform, he does YouTube. He's got like 5, 6, 7, 8,000 people tuned in to get all the latest source and information from him. And so he shared something this morning. I'm going to see if I can download it because this is crazy. And he shared it with the caption, what's going on in our beautiful Jamaica? There's no regard for human life. When y'all see this, honey child, you're going to just shake your head this morning. I mean, really and truly. I'm like, what the hell? These people are crazy. All right, give me a second now. Let me just pull this one up for your viewing pleasure. The shocker of a video. So hold on now, honey child. Give me 1 second. Look at this. So it looks like they're at a gas station. I don't know if you guys can hear it. But anyway, they're at a gas station there. Yeah. Oh, is this the right video? Yes. Pause. Oh, wait a minute. That's not the one I'm looking for. All right, hold on. That's not the one. Hold on. Looks like I downloaded the wrong video. Let me see. But the one that I'm actually looking for is, oh, that's strange. It somehow pulled the wrong one. Hold on. So he has this on his Instagram. I might have to play it direct from Instagram. But yes, honey child, this was a hot mess when I saw it this morning. I was like, what the heck is this? Oh no, that's the wrong video. That's my fault. Hold on. Oh, I was clicking the wrong one. Hold on. Soon get it. Yes, honey child, coming to you right now. That was some people on strike this morning. Oh, people have been striking all over the place. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, this is at the Texaco in Jamaica. So hold on one second. All right. So let's pull this one out. And I'm going to let you guys see this one. Look at this. So for the benefit of radio listeners, this is a scene at a gas station. You see the motorbike come in, and you got to be careful these motorbikes, honey child, because, oh Lord, when you see a motorbike in Jamaica, a lot of the criminals like to use these motorbikes because it gives them easy access in and out of a situation. So if they're trying to rob people or take out a hit on someone, they come in a motorbike. And this is just, very, very sad. But keep watching this. They come in to the local Texaco on their motorbike, and look at what happens next. Go around the gas station, two of them on the bike. They go like around the back. Right? They look like they pull up. You can see them all the way in the back there. One guy gets off of the motorbike. And people are just walking by. See, he gets off the motorbike. People walking by, minding their own business. My God, everybody goes scampering, and the motorbike comes and picks them up and takes off. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think Andre said, he said little to no regard for life. This one person commented, I heard over 13 shots. My God, what have we become as human beings? Someone says they need to put a ban on these bikes, harsh penalties, but they're being used because of the ease of escape. Isn't that horrible that you'd put a ban on motorbikes? Because again, these people, criminals, are using that to get in and out of situations very, very quickly. So one person says that 2 taxi men were shot, one fatally, following an incident that evening inside of a Texas gas station at the intersection of Molness and Waltham Park Road in St. Andrew. Oh my goodness, so sad. And this other person says, for me, the bike men then pull up, me no say something about to happen. Me would have gone long time. And sometimes you're not really even thinking, you're just minding your own business. And I'll show you guys this again, because this is next level crazy. You're minding your own business, and this is what happens. Right at the gas station. You see people just walking by. I mean, people walk by gas stations all the time. Wow. So sad. My goodness. Unbelievable. Yep. So sad. And same thing in the US. They had another mass shooting again this week. 3 children and 3 adults, including the school principal. 3 adults. Yep, the 3 adults were all in their 60s, and the kids were like 9 years old, lost their lives before they even got started in life. So sad. They said the school principal in that incident was actually trying. This was a Christian school. Apparently the shooter attended that school, but at some point. But they said that the school principal lost her life trying to protect her kids. Oh, the sadness of it all. All right. First lady says, OMG, my baby's listening to CMR and fell asleep. Miss Sandy, you just put my baby to sleep. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But yes. Okay. Let me just see something here. We are waiting on some guests. Let me just check on them. My time is a little bit tight today. So let me just see where they are. Yeah, Chuck, jump on the live stream. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna send you. Hold on. I want you to jump on. I don't want you to just call in. I think you should jump on where people can see you. If you can do video, if not, then of course you can always call in. So there you go, Chucky. Use that link. So let me just see here now. We have Sion says the government of Jamaica needs to ban those bikes. We're tired of these monsters. But you see, this is the problem. Banning the bikes is not going to solve the issue. They'll find somewhere else, some other way to do it. Scooters, skates. You know, a criminal is a criminal, and they will find a way to carry out their criminal activity. Even if you ban something, the vast majority of people, I'm sure, who use motorbikes are not criminals, and they're not out there using it for some nefarious purpose. But, you know, unfortunately, the criminals will use anything that's available to them. And listen, keep in mind, just because you ban it doesn't mean that criminals won't get access to it. Guns are, these guns that they're using, they don't have legal access to. And they still have a plethora of guns that they're using. They still get guns from Haiti and America and all over the place. So I'm not so sure that banning it is going to do much good when you think about it. You know? Debbie says, yeah, banning the bikes is not the answer. They need more gun control. There's no singular response to the situation. So gun control, yes, but again, illegal guns will, I guess, always filter through. They have a huge gun market between Haiti and Jamaica. Lots of criminal activity there. And Haiti, unfortunately, Haiti is next level. Did you guys hear about the kidnapping? And let me see if they're still, I can't tell you if they're actually still alive. Let me just double check my sources on this one. But an American couple was kidnapped in Haiti recently. It says, this is our friend, Miss Jacqueline Charles from the Miami Herald. We're going to continue to uplift her because she's an amazing writer and she keeps us abreast of the situation in Haiti. But she's talking about the abduction of a Haitian American couple from Tamarack in Haiti a week ago is ongoing after the aftermath show how the brunt of Haiti's kidnapping scourge is being borne not just by those who fall victim, but by relatives abroad. And so they had gone there to visit American Haitians, and they were kidnapped. And I can't recall what the outcome. They were going to see a sick relative, apparently. And right now, Haiti is not the place to go if you can help it. I hate to say it. But anyway, let's put that in pause. We'll discuss some of those topics into next week. RD Limited says this will soon be the reality for Cayman. This type of culture has already permeated into Cayman society. But of course, Cayman will only take action when it's too late. Serious reform in need. And I agree, RD, we've got to get ahead of the situation. So as they say, prevention is always better than cure. An ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So let's stay on top of it. But we've got our guests who are ready, and we're going to go ahead and bring them in now. So we've got Dr. Nick Gent. You guys remember that Dr. Gent is no stranger to the program. He has been on the program before, and he is the Chief Medical Officer for the Cayman Islands. So good morning, Dr. Gent. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you. Apologies. I think we might have been a little late, but we were on the wrong link. So apologies for that.
No worries. No worries. You're here now. How have things been going for you?
Good. I'm very pleased. My initial impressions of being in Cayman have been upheld. People are absolutely wonderful to work with, lovely people. It's obviously a beautiful place to be, but the work's challenging, it's interesting, it's worth doing, and I'm working with some excellent people who I like very much.
Yes, wonderful. Well, that always makes work life a lot easier, right?
It does. Well, if you're struggling in your work relationships, it's always hard. But if you come to work, you have a challenging time, but it's worthwhile, and you see things happening. And then you can go home and you can relax in a beautiful country with beautiful people who are just so unbelievably kind. It's the complete experience.
Yes, absolutely. So we also have the national epidemiologist, Ms. Rachel Corbett, who is also joining the program. I believe this is her first time in the program. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, it is. Thank you very much for having me this morning.
Yes, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yes. How are you doing?
Yeah, fantastic. So good to have you here. So I think you really set a record for the Cayman Islands as well, because we've never had a national epidemiologist. So this is a first. And of course, we became very, very familiar with that term during COVID and understood the necessity to probably have one on board, even for smaller island nations such as ourselves. So tell us a little bit about what it is that you do, and then we're going to get into why you're here in the program this morning.
Great. Yes. So epidemiology is essentially understanding the spread of disease. So a lot of my role entails looking at data and trying to gather an understanding of what we know about disease happening here in Cayman. That's both diseases that are spread from person to person, so infectious diseases, and also non-communicable diseases. We're going to be talking about that a little bit this morning. So a lot of my role is trying to gather data, trying to analyze and interpret that and provide that as evidence for us to understand what's going on in the community, but also work with the public health team here as they try and control outbreaks or any clusters of disease that we see happening to prevent that spreading any further.
Yes. And you guys have been working extremely hard, not just in relation to COVID, but generally speaking, as it comes to, these diseases that you speak of. What are some of the top diseases that we're particularly concerned about in the Cayman Islands?
Well, it to a certain extent, it's a partial view born out of early clinical experience, looking at what referral patterns look like, looking at the pressure on clinical services, and Ms. Rachel will talk in a bit more detail about how we're going to turn that sort of partial view into a more comprehensive, unbiased view. So we've got a picture across the whole population. But I'd have to say the early thinking here, and I don't think it'll surprise anybody at all, is that we've got a lot of people that are probably carrying a little bit too much weight. And as a result, they're getting predisposition to diabetes, especially. And the consequences of diabetes as a result of that, but also there's a whole linked set of things, so diabetes, ischemic heart disease, peripheral vascular disease, but also degenerative disease. So there's a very big demand for things like management of lower back pain, hip and knee replacements, and these kind of things. That seems to be the thing that's dominating the physical health picture. In terms of mental health, that's a little bit more difficult to get a handle on. People are always putting over the best side of themselves, but I can see there are the usual things we'd expect to see in any society. There are people who get sad, there are people who get depressed, there are people who get anxious. There's some of the more formal severe mental health diseases that we're seeing, and clearly, like most developed countries, which have openings to the rest of the world, we're seeing habits that are coming in, such as the use of drugs of abuse, and of course the drugs which are legal, such as alcohol. Fortunately, cigarette smoking is a bit lower than many places, but it's still too high. I'd really like to see nobody smoking anymore. I do understand the addictive nature of it, but honestly, there is no upside to cigarette smoking. It is just a wholly dangerous activity.
Right. Okay. So you guys are going to be doing a bit of community surveying. We want to hear a little bit more about this. So Rachel, I'm going to pull up a slide here for you so that you can tell us what the STEP survey is. And there is a meeting this evening, which, we'll post that on the website and social media, just as a reminder of everyone to come out and participate. But this is really about non-communicable disease risk factor surveillance. So that sounds like a lot. What exactly is the STEP survey, and what do you hope to achieve?
Great, thank you. Yeah, we just put a few slides together to kind of give a visual to what we're talking through. So this is a survey which has been designed by the World Health Organization, and it looks to understand for a population the occurrence, or what we call the prevalence, of non-communicable diseases, but also the risk factors for those. So I'll come in a minute to explain the different risk factors that we're looking at and what that really means.
Okay.
But a little bit about the survey itself. It was designed to be a standardized approach, so it can be used in lots of different countries, and then the results of those can be compared because everyone's done it in the same way. It just takes a sample of the population, so we won't be surveying everybody. We'll just be taking a random sample, which then represents the national population. It has been done in Cayman Islands before, so it was done in 2012. And it's generally encouraged to try and do every 5 years, but as you'll note, it's been a bit longer than that for us. But we're really looking to try and provide updated data from what we've known from before. And a little bit we've talked about already, non-communicable diseases. We're talking about things like diabetes, hypertension, obesity. These are the leading cause of mortality and disability globally. So it's something which is a huge issue, and that we'd really love to have robust information about for Cayman Islands, so that we can best provide the services and prevention interventions that we need. And so for us to prevent the diseases occurring, we need to understand the occurrence of the risk factors for them. So if we know how many people have different lifestyle choices and behaviors which are likely to lead to them developing one of these diseases, then we can try and provide the best information and support for them to try and modify those behaviors. And that hopefully then can reduce the occurrence of the disease happening too. So that's the kind of the idea behind why we're gathering that information. I think, so this slide just talks about the 3 different stages or steps. That's why it's called the STEPS survey. It has 3 different elements. The first one is a questionnaire. So an enumerator or an interviewer will be out in the community, and they'll approach a household and ask to conduct a questionnaire with one individual from that household. And then the second step, it also occurs at that same time, and it gathers a few physical measurements. This would include the participants' height, weight, blood pressure, hip and waist circumference. And then the third step happens at a different time. So this is with a nurse, and the individual will just provide a finger prick blood drop. And then from that, we can test their blood glucose levels and their cholesterol. So this then means we can understand things like diabetes prevalence from those measures.
Very interesting. So quite comprehensive in terms of the data. Let me just, I think I missed the slide. There we go. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So what I was talking about with the risk factors, so these are just some of the examples of what we're looking at. So we have behavioral risk factors, so things that we choose to do in our lifestyle. So these are things like tobacco use. We've mentioned some of these already, alcohol use, physical activity or inactivity levels, and our diet. These are all things which can have an impact and be a risk factor for developing some of the diseases that we're talking about. And then there are also biological risk factors that we also look to gather information on, and these are through kind of some of the measurements that I talked about. So being overweight or obese, if you have raised blood pressure, if you have raised blood glucose, these can then lead to the development of some of those diseases. And so
lots of those risk factors, as Dr. Gent mentioned, we know are real here in the Cayman Islands. You know, the smoking, the perhaps overuse of alcohol, lack of physical activity, and definitely the unhealthy diet.
Exactly. So we want to kind of have robust information to back up what we know, and to be able to understand maybe maybe there are age groups in the population or certain demographics where those are more prevalent, then we can look to support them well. So a little bit on how we'll do the survey. So we've got a steering committee that we started putting together from last year. This is a collaborative approach. This is the Ministry of Health and Wellness, but also ESO are heavily involved in supporting the survey, and members from the Health Services Authority as well. So as I mentioned, we'll be taking or looking to gather information from a sample. So it's 3,300 individuals that we will be approaching to see if they'd be willing to take part. So it's just one individual from a household. We're running the survey from June to July, so it runs over a 2-month window.
Okay. Now, is that per, when you say 3,300, one per household, So you're only going to take one person per household, or could you take multiple from the same household?
Just one person.
One person.
Just one
Okay. Yeah.
And that individual is randomly selected. The best way, if you're going to take a sample from the population, the best way for that to represent a nation as a whole is if every person in that population has an equal chance of being selected. So doing it randomly is the best way to make that happen.
Right.
So we've got a brief criteria of who's eligible. So it's essentially adults, those aged 18 to 69. And then residents. So we're not looking to gather information on tourists. This is very much about those that live in the Cayman Islands, but it's across all three islands as well. And we're not including institutional settings like care homes or prisons. They're not part of this survey. But just one thing to highlight, participation is voluntary. This is not a mandatory thing, but we would really, really love it if someone does approach you and you're invited to take part. Would really appreciate people's support. I think you're just moving on. Yeah, so this just outlines a little bit of when things would happen. So during June and July, we'll have a team of interviewers in the community, and they will visit households during evenings and weekends to do steps 1 and 2 that we talked about. And then the step 3, which involves a nurse. Individuals either have the option to attend a district clinic during set hours. It needs to be early in the morning because it's a fasting measurement. So when someone's slept through the night and they've not eaten breakfast yet, to go and visit a district clinic, or if it's more convenient for them, we can arrange a nurse to come to their house if they prefer that.
So it's going to be carried out over 2 months. That seems like a very tight schedule to get to 3,300 households.
Yeah, it does seem quite a lot, doesn't it? We're drawing a great team together to get this done. And we're drawing on experience from other countries, so we understand that it's doable, and it seemed to work here well last time as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So
now we're selection of participants. Yes. This is good.
Just to give a bit of background about how people will be selected. So we do cluster the sampling at district level to make sure that, because our population is spread differently across different districts, so that we're selecting a number of people relating to the population density in each of those districts. But after that, it's then completely random. So we will, with the support of ESO, have a list of randomly selected households, and an interviewer will be given that list, and then they will approach a household and ask about how many members there are in their household that meet the eligibility criteria, so the age group that we talked about. And then they'll have a tablet with them that they use to collect the data, and the tablet will tell them which individual has been randomly selected to take part. So it has no kind of manual element in choosing there. As it is random, there's no replacement. So if someone doesn't want to take part or isn't available, we can't substitute them with a different member of that household, because that would introduce bias. And it's the same in terms of the household level. If someone in that house isn't able to take part or not available, we can't then just go next door and ask another household. It has to be the one that's selected. So that's why we really appreciate people's cooperation and involvement, because if lots of people say no, we just won't get the data.
Right.
Yeah.
So if that person is selected and they're not available, do you still try to get to the 3,300 number by going to additional households, or?
No, so we won't be replacing.
Oh, wow.
So we will, as it's done with different surveys in Cayman, we'll try and leave a note if someone's not available, or try and arrange a time that isn't convenient for them. So our team will pop back on a number of occasions to try and make that work. But if it's not possible, then it's not possible.
Yes. So Andrea says, I'm late. What am I missing? Selected for what? So Andrea, I know this is a survey that's going to be happening over the next couple months. And basically the idea, folks, is they're trying to collect data and information. And this is important. Like I'm always, I find it interesting, and not a good way, when people say, I don't want to participate in any survey. People are being nosy. I don't want people in my business. And then you want better healthcare initiatives. You want government to know that we have 15, 25% prevalence of diabetes in the community. So they need to spend money towards, prevention and all these other things. I'm like, how does government make those decisions? Dr. Jent, perhaps you can step in here. How does government make those decisions in lieu of this information?
Well, you've gone absolutely to the core of my concern. Thank you. And that was without prompting you. The data we've got available at the present time is simply utilization data.
Right.
So those are people who have got the insurance or can afford, or they've got cover from employment, and have the ability to recognize problems and can advocate for themselves. So the data we've got at the present time is quite biased. It shows us a snapshot of what is going on in a particular group in society. Now, what Miss Rachel's doing is she's putting in a place where we get a truly representative one. So it's going to be as accurate as we possibly know. And the importance of that is, I might very well think, and probably will be correct, that maybe one of the most important diseases that we need to tackle in Cayman is probably diabetes, because of it's one of those things that I call a cliff edge disease, that people can sort of manage, very light touch, not get the proper care and observation to make sure that they keep their eyesight. They don't have destructive damage to a leg. They don't enter kidney failure. They minimize the risk of heart disease. And we just sort of manage, and people take the tablets or their injections, and suddenly, because they've not had the best care possible throughout, everything falls over. They have the heart attacks, they get kidney failure, they suddenly get a massive disease, which is very disabling and reduces the quality of life. But I've really got to know the scale of what that likelihood is of the numbers of people that are not getting care. And this is the difference about this. And then I can present a good case to government to say, hey, if we're looking for the people to still be in good health in 20, 30, 40 years' time, and quite probably have reduced the dependency on the healthcare system for those big ticket items like having coronary artery bypasses or stenting, about the numbers of people on dialysis and so on, I've got to have a good evidence-based case. Currently, I have that bit of an insight. I can look at it. But to go to government with hard numbers and say, this is what's been happening, these are the numbers of cases 10 years ago. These are the numbers of cases now. So this is representative. This is statistically likely. And we can see trend from 2 equivalent survey points. I can make a much better case to be able to, advocate for Caymanians about what their health systems need to be, not just what a few people essentially access now, but what everybody needs in the future.
Absolutely. So folks, that tells you the why of why you should care about the survey, why you should participate in the survey, because ultimately it's going to mean better policy decisions and just better, services and overall care for people in our communities as it relates to health and wellness. And for the first time ever, we actually have a ministry of not just health, but Ministry of Health and Wellness. I think that that's really an important addition to that particular ministerial portfolio, because, we were talking about earlier, prevention, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. That certainly comes to your health as well. So over the years, if you take small, measurable steps to really improve your overall health, it can offset things like type 2 diabetes. More and more, we're seeing younger and younger people, sometimes in their 20s and even as young as, early 30s, getting what was traditionally considered an old person's disease. Now they're getting it at a much younger age. And so what that means for you is your kidneys and your, every organ in your body is having to fight the influences or the impact of that disease for a much longer period of time, which shortens your lifespan. So that's why, folks, it's important. It's about quality of life, and of course, ensuring that you can live a longer, more fruitful life wherever possible. So let's talk a little bit about the data governance, because anytime we hear people talking about taking surveys, we've always got a segment of the population, that's fine, who are concerned about how the data is going to be collected. And they're concerned about the protection of their information. We do have a caller on the line as well. Caller, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm trying to turn my volume down.
That's okay.
Off island. I'm actually in the UK and
yes, ma'am.
To the program. Unfortunately, due to time difference, I just logged on.
Okay, very good.
I'm not sure whether I caught all of it, because ironically, I am actually visiting the Alzheimer's Disease International Office on tomorrow.
Okay,
And what I
very
want
good.
to find out, as dementia or Alzheimer's, you want to say, is a non-communicable disease listed by the World Health Organization. I'm just wondering if the STEP program would include something like that. I might have missed a bit of the program. So I'm just wondering, that's my question. And also, especially since the World Health Organization is calling for a dementia plan throughout especially Caribbean. I'm just focusing on Caribbean, but all over the world. We have written to ask about the implementation of a plan because, with dementia, it's increasing and the numbers are young. In Cayman now, it's like 40s. It's always been that 40s, 50s, but now we know 40s, 50s, but we don't have any data. We are lacking data, and that's something from the 2010 when this association started. We're still not able to get real good data that we can rely on to get funding and all those and the assistance that our association needs. And I think it's the way that it's captured sometime at in the HSA. Like if you come into the hospital and let's say you're suffering from heart failure or something, I don't know, some kind of heart disease. That might be your diagnosis. You might have dementia, but you're a patient or a kidney transplant.
Right.
I don't know. I think the primary diagnosis is listed and not like, say, the person is a kidney transplant and they also have dementia or something. I might be wrong, but that's what I was told initially. So I just want to hear what your guest has to say because I think is that the medical, the CMO that's on today?
Yes, the CMO and the epidemiologist as well.
Yeah, before I came over to the UK, I tried to get in contact with his office. I was unfortunately I was not successful, but I should have sent an email in relation to the same STEP survey.
Very good. Thank you so much, caller. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Yes.
Yeah, very happy to pick that up. Generally speaking, the STEPS methodology is not a good way of capturing dementia and as a problem. The reason for that is it's the sample size and the age structuring is generally going to is going to result in a relatively small number of people within the most significant age groups for dementia. But it is something that we've been aware of, and Ms. Corbett and myself have been trying to capture as many data streams as possible in Cayman to be able to look at a wide range of potential diseases.
Okay.
Cayman is a little strange in that because we've got so many different health providers and because of data protection legislation, that there is a lot of data around, but turning that into representative information streams is more difficult. Now, we do have we are gathering some data on dementia and firming up what we think is the scale of the problem. We have got, for instance, some data available upon the number of people needing caring support in the community, and that tells us quite end stage dementia, to be honest. It's not early dementia. We do have some data from people accessing healthcare, and the healthcare records do include other risk factors such as dementia, late or early, but often not any diagnosis of cause of dementia. But of course, there's a limited number of health providers we can capture that data from. There is late data also in that we're starting to be able to get access to what is a very comprehensive deaths database in the general registry, and we've been having some very good talks with our colleagues down there. The deaths data goes back to late 19th century. That's on record. So we've got a lot of hopes that that's going to help us. That will only, of course, tell us about people who died with dementia. But the death record does record not just the death was directly attributable to dementia, but it was also an important present situation. So long story short, we are aware of the problem. We have got some projections, which is just simply based upon demographics, but we are trying to fill that out with a more local picture on that, what that broad. We've got so many people, the age structures that, so the numbers of dementia cases should be about that, but we're trying to get some, which is something a bit more of a local picture, and particularly to try to establish whether there are particular populations which are bearing bigger burdens of disease or not. But it's going to take us some time to do that because we're using quite a lot of indirect sources.
Very good. All right. So we see Scott has a comment here. He says, isn't this exactly what is wrong with the Ministry of Tourism? Making decisions on a major pillar of the economy without any of the data collection or analysis. And Scott, it's interesting that you say that because at the recent economic outlook that was held a few weeks ago, again, one of the guest speakers there mentioned exactly that. And not just our Ministry of Tourism, but she talked about the issue on a regional scale, that we're investing and putting a lot of money into tourism, and we're pushing initiatives, tourism-based initiatives, without really the information or the data to say whether or not this is where we should be spending our time, resources, and efforts to, try and generate revenue for our islands. And no one is able to tell you the actual impact that tourism has, both in a good way and a negative way as well. So you're absolutely right about that, Scott. Now let's talk a little bit about the data governance. And I think that we may have Kevin Watler, who's going to jump in and take over the interview for me, because I do have an appointment to get to. My time's a little bit tight, but in the meantime, let's talk about how you're going to collect this information and the confidence that people should have that their information is going to be safe once it's collected.
Yes, this is a really important aspect, and I fully appreciate that people have concerns and hesitancy around this. So we want to be really transparent about what we're doing, and through the process, we've been very careful to ensure that it fully aligns to the Data Protection Act, which was revised in 2021 here in Cayman. So how the process will happen is that the interviewers will have a tablet, and on that tablet will be an app, and they will enter the data into that app. The data is, whilst it's in the app, is stored in the cloud. It's hosted in Germany, which is within the European Economic Area. So those that are familiar with the Data Protection Act, if there's any international transfer of data, it has to happen with a country that has the same standards here as Cayman, and countries in the European Economic Area fall under that classification. So we've run through all of this with the information rights team here in government, and they are fully happy that this is all compliant with the regulations. Once the data collection is complete, we will download it from the app and store it within the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Any data on the app will be completely deleted. The data does include individuals' names, and the reason for that is that we outline there's 3 different steps, and we need to be able to link together someone's data from steps 1 and 2 with the data in step 3. Once we've downloaded the information and been able to make that link, we will then anonymize the data. So we will remove people's names and any way of identifying them. So then the data set that is stored is fully anonymized. No one looking at that will be able to work out which information is about who. And it will be a very restricted number of people within the Ministry of Health and Wellness that will be able to access that data, essentially only those that are analyzing it, which is a very important aspect of how we handle data, is that it's only access appropriate according to the need. And then the next step will be to analyze it and to produce a report which is available and publish available, so residents in Cayman and health services can review that and see what we found. The way that we will report on the data is by reporting it in very large groups of individuals. So despite the fact that it's already been anonymized, we will only say, for example, X proportion of individuals that are men had this condition. And by doing so, when someone reads the report, they won't be able to identify anyone's individual results by looking at them, because it will be grouped together with so many other people.
Right.
So that's how we will protect people's identity and maintain confidentiality throughout the process.
Very good. So we've got some mean survey. You're going to do a mean survey report. There's going to be a fact sheet of some of the key findings. And then around that, you're going to actually have a health conference for, I'm guessing, all health professionals to come together And
yeah, we're hoping to align this with there's an annual health conference that happens at the Health HSA normally, run in collaboration with the ministry. So we're looking to be able to have the data ready to provide some of those findings at the conference.
Okay, very good. All right, let's just see coming into the final slide. So again, the benefits of the survey. Let's go ahead and just review these again for anyone who might have joined late or wondering what's in it for them.
Absolutely. So as we said, this survey was done in 2012. And so we're looking, and that, to be honest, that data we go back to very often. Whenever anyone asks what is the prevalence of diabetes or obesity in the population, we don't have anything updated since then. So we're really looking to provide updated information and data about the health status, and particularly around non-communicable diseases in Cayman. And we can then use this to tailor our public health interventions to inform policy for providing healthcare for the population. So really, this is a way of us saying, please help us help you, and be able to provide the right care that's needed here in Cayman. And for participants who do take part, it essentially is a free health check for them. When they have the measurements taken, we will provide those results directly back to them at the time. So they will get an update on their numbers, and they can then take that to their GP or to their practitioner. But really, that's what they also get out of taking part in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should emphasise it. It really is the importance. There are some personal benefits, but the overwhelming importance is this is a chance for Caymanians to contribute very, very important information to their own future healthcare. And without that, we'll still be carrying on planning blindly. So please, I know that it's going to be a nuisance. It's going to be some time. The little blood prick, it's not that bad, folks. It really is a little sting and over with quickly. But the benefits of having that standardized data, so people like Rachel, myself, and everybody else here at the ministry, and all the other people working in the healthcare sector can say, hey, we were seeing these patients, but we're missing these, and we're managing to provide care for this number of people with chronic diseases now, but actually we're going to need to scale our services in the future to be this big. So if it's altruism, I know, but please, folks, when somebody knocks on your door, please do let us in and help, because you're helping yourselves, your family, and your future here.
Hello, and so you all probably don't know me, but I'm Kevin Watler, and I had to fill in for Sandy. She had to get going, and so I'll be continuing on. So we're just kind of working out a couple of things in the background while we transition over. So sorry for the last minute change.
No problem, Kevin. It's good to see you, and I know Sandy will have had to. It'll have been important for her to drift off like that. So I hope everything's well with her.
All is well. Sure. So we're just working out. I don't have control of the slides right now, but if you want to just go ahead and talk about the next one, and while we work in the background to get that advanced, and of course our radio listeners, they can't see the slides anyway. But if you don't mind,
yeah, of course. I can't move it on, but it's just one slide left really, and all that is that we wanted to say is what individuals' roles in the community is in helping us in this. So really, as we've said, your role is vital in participating if you are selected to take part, but also really in if you've been listening in today or watching the live stream, in talking about this with your friends and family, in sharing what you've learned, in helping us get the word out. We'd really value your support there. We want this to be something which is really beneficial, which produces really high quality data for yourselves for the future healthcare development here. So yeah, we'd just really appreciate your input with that. And we are going to be having a meeting in each of the districts to give people an opportunity to come and listen to a bit more about the survey, and then to also have a chance to ask any questions that they've got. So we've got the first one of those this evening. We'll be out in the East End. We're meeting at the Civic Centre, and we'll be there from 6:30. So please do come along if you live in the East End and you'd like to hear a bit more about the survey. Both CMO, myself, and I understand the minister will also be attending with us tonight. So we'd love to see you there. But yeah, please share what you've learned and ask questions. We'd love to know what you're thinking, what your concerns might be. If there's something that isn't very clear that maybe we haven't explained very well, please let us know. We'd really appreciate that.
Awesome. I know you guys might not know, but when I left the Cayman Islands, because I'm actually in the Tampa area, and I was working in public health at the time, and of course, COVID came about. We first had a hepatitis A epidemic, and then we had the COVID-19 pandemic, and I got a really good taste of working in the public health and learning about the importance of epidemiology and these types of health surveys. And then, of course, the pandemic put a lot of the importance of it in to light. And in Cayman Islands, we didn't have any of that, and it was just like, how could we not have anything? And it was so great to see that we now have you guys on board, and we're starting to do these type of surveys so we could have a better picture of health in the Cayman Islands. So really, very, very happy to know that we have these type of things. Definitely encourage everyone to participate as well. Attend the meetings if you have questions. It's just so important, so we could ultimately, for generations in the future, be able to again have a much greater impact on them.
Kevin, that's absolutely fascinating. You've got that background, and thank you for sharing that with us. And you'll appreciate then more than many people will be possibly the direction we're trying to take public health in Cayman. Currently, we've got some excellent healthcare services, but they're mopping up the disease after the cause. The public health services here are small, very good, nice, enthusiastic bunch of people, and they're doing the traditional basics, very well about getting out there and immunizing children and doing all of that kind of fitness work in young people fit to be in education and helping to support them through and the like. But people like Ms. Rachel and myself, we come from a background of what we call very broad church public health, and essentially we look on anything as a public health problem, whether it be do people have enough access to exercise, whether or not they're at risk from skin cancers, the beautiful sunshine and things that we get here. Nutrition is obviously a huge area for us, and I think the STEP survey is going to give us some very, very interesting insight into that. But we are very much about driving the capability and capacity of Cayman for the future to be able to base everything it does around health through public health. Some of the keys for public health there are data-driven and evidence-based healthcare, so that not only are we saying, well, we think this might be nice, but we're saying whether or not something really is needed, how much of it is needed, and what's the best way, not just tackling the problem after it's arisen, but maybe going back to the roots of that problem to try to prevent things. So looking at the whole approach, not just there's a patient in need in front of us. Yes, that's important, and we must care for them, but thinking about how we stop the flow of patients, reducing that flow of patients. So it's trying to introduce a much more comprehensive way of planning and managing healthcare systems. And STEPS is really our first step into getting that systematization, because we've got historic data, and so we've got trend data that will come out of this, and then slowly integrating more and more data streams as we can encourage people to work with us, so that people can look around and say, yes, we really do know what's happening in Cayman. We do know what's needed, and we do know what we need to do for ourselves. Because one of the other big elements of public health here is that there has to be, that community movement where people say, hey, we know we're getting it wrong, we're going to help ourselves, and not just, I'm going to visit the doctor because I want a pill or some surgery. Not necessarily the quick fix, but doing the things which give a better fix, and particularly influence the generations coming through, because people must remember, parents, grandparents, the kids watch us, and they do what we do, and we give them license to follow our bad habits. And so we've got to set those ourselves. So it's great to know that there's somebody in the background who's steeped in public health and understands those things, that's working in the media. Thank you for that, Kevin.
My pleasure. And so we have, again, the National Health Survey, the District of East End is going to have an event Thursday, March 30th at the East End Civic Center from 6:30 to 7:30. Definitely support and encourage everyone to try to get out there and participate in something like this. It's so important. I'm telling you that I definitely feel my absolute full support behind these type of things. Just like you heard Dr. Gent say, it's just so vital for our future. All right, so any last summaries that you guys want to give before we move on to the next phase of the show?
Just thank you for helping us to inform the public, and give us this chance to go through those things. Particularly, I know things like data protection is so sensitive in Cayman. People protect their data and information, and identity so carefully, which is good. But giving us a chance to give them that reassurance, give them the chance to understand what is happening, hopefully enthuse them to participate, and know that what we're going to do is going to be a benefit not just to themselves, but to the whole community and to the future generations. So thank you very much for that opportunity, Kevin.
Really appreciate it. So Rachel, any final thoughts from you?
Thank you, Kevin. Just to say, we really value everyone's support and input with the survey. So please get out and see us at some of the district meetings, and please get in touch. If you've got questions, we're very happy to take them. So please do reach out with those.
All right, that was Rachel Corbett and also Dr. Nick Gent. Really appreciate you spending some time with us this morning, and you all have a beautiful rest of your day.
You too.
And you, sir.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. So just moving on to the next segment, we're going to move on to the economic forum that Sandy attended or took place in the Cayman Islands. I think it was last week. And so we're going to play a few videos before. But actually before that, I have another video to play. So let me go ahead and cue that up here.
Next year or 2 years down the road. It actually looks 5 and 10 years down the road, and it actually works very, very well. So I think you'll enjoy that. This is the part of the presentation where you take out your cell phones and you can download the slides for free from that QR code. I highly recommend you do this because there's a lot of information, especially towards the end of this, that you're going to want to get. The other thing about my slides, it's very unusual from other people, is that at the bottom of most of the slides is a URL code, and you can go and click on that. It'll take you right to the source of the information that I'm giving you. So you can say, Andy Bush, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm going to go to the source and check it out myself. Please do this. I'm also going to give you some homework, believe it or not. I want you to do some additional research, and you'll see towards the end of this what I'm talking about. You can also follow me on Twitter at @ABUSCH, or just link in with me, whatever you want to do, but this is an opportunity to get those slides. All right, with that in mind, let's jump into the economic past. I'm going to do something really crazy here. Ready? Here we go. I'm going to explain this. I know, right? That's pretty fun. Why did we go up so much during, right after COVID? Well, at my firm, we do a lot of research at andrewbush.com. You can get it all for free, but we do a lot of data analysis, and we spend a lot of time trying to figure out, what is the best way to represent the data that we find? What is the best data visualization? And pretty much for why the stock market went up, it's this. Who's seen this movie? Is anybody out? Okay, and you raise your hand in public. I love it, right? I would never do that. That would be embarrassing to me. No, I'm just kidding. I've actually watched it too. But take a look at that slide. What is it? What you can see there is somebody getting shot out of a cannon. And ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what the United States did, and other countries too. But the U.S. did it with incredible firepower. Now, the next slide I'm going to show you should blow you away. It's the total amount of stimulus spending that we put into the U.S. economy. It's 14 with a T trillion dollars between the White House, between Congress, and between the Federal Reserve. That is a lot of dough. And that is not like what happened back in 2007, 2008. Back then, if we wanted to get money out the door, say through TARP or through the shovel-ready projects that they came up with, they would go to the Treasury, and maybe the Treasury said, yeah, we might have a list of people that we can get money out to, and so we probably have an Excel spreadsheet someplace, and then we can cut an actual physical check. That'll take a little bit of time, and then we'll send it snail mail out to people. That whole process takes about 6 months. That isn't what happened this time. What happened this time is Congress said, look, we need to get stimulus checks out. Bam, Treasury goes, no problem. We'll direct deposit those into people's checking accounts. That way they can pay for their groceries, they can pay for their rent, they can pay for their cars, and that's how you get the economy to really get back growing really fast. That's why you went from 35% down in GDP in the second quarter of 2020 to plus 30%, and you grew for 6 consecutive quarters until 2022. That's how you stimulate things, and it was really impressive. Now, I know most of you don't think that we can use those words, U.S. government and impressive, in the same sentence, and yet here we are. That's what they did. So this is really good. That's why we got so much growth. Of course, it comes at a cost. And that cost is inflation taking off. And that's what we saw to some extent. Now, you have to remember, the U.S. economy, 70% of the U.S. economy is consumer spending, okay? And of that 70% of that is services like tourism, and 30% is goods. Well, during the shutdown, you couldn't go to a bar, you couldn't go to a restaurant, you wouldn't go to a hotel, you couldn't use all of those services. So spending on services went down. Spending on goods started to go up. Now, let me give you an example about the city of Chicago and what was going on there. It was really crazy. So think about this, like a couple, a millennial with an 8-year-old child. In the spring of 2020, your boss calls and tells you, hey, don't come into work, you can work from home. Your spouse or partner has the same conversation. You have a 2-bedroom condo in Chicago, it's kind of nice. But then also your school calls and says to your son or daughter, hey, they can stay at home and work too. 2 people, 1 child, 2-bedroom condo. Do you know what we call that in Chicago? Hell, pretty much, right? Like, that was crazy. Why would you want that situation? But all of a sudden, people started going, oh man, I need a table, I need a business desk, I need a chair, I need an iPad for my son or daughter to go to school in my home. I need all this technology. You can understand why goods spending really took off. And I'm here to tell you, globally, we can't handle that. Just that 5% pop. No way. And remember, in the United States, we already had a trade war with China going on. So things got bad and ugly fast. And these were all of the things that happened sequentially really quickly. So yes, COVID is still kind of washing through. The fact that China had shut down and then just reopened and let it run through their population just recently tells you that this is still flushing through our system, through the global economy, and creating all sorts of problems. As I mentioned, inflation really soared, right? This is last summer, and you can see the United States had CPI of about 9%. We hadn't had those kind of numbers till the late 70s, early 80s. So it's been a long time, and people just did not know how to deal with that. But you can see across the planet, everyone had similar issues when it came to inflation. Now, let's get away from all the past that was really bad. Let's kind of focus on something more positive. Just kidding. So why did it go down? Like, what happened? Well, again, in the States, inflation was very, very sticky. The other thing that was very, very sticky, of course, is labor costs. Everybody in this room that's tried to hire somebody knows this. It's been fascinating to think what's been going on. We've seen a transition into the present from the past where consumer spending was higher on goods, right, and lower on services. Now it's reversed. Now it's gone back to a little bit more of normalization. People are now flocking to hotels. They want to go on spring break. They want to come down to the Cayman. They want to go to the Bahamas. They want to go all these great places. But that's problematic because there aren't enough labor in the United States to fill all of these places. And so what do you have to do? You have to spend more money on labor. And where we're seeing this really stickiness when it comes to labor is in the service sector. That's starting to go up. This is from this graphic is from the Atlanta Federal Reserve. This is their wage growth tracker. You can get that at their site. But what we've seen is for services, that's gone up. And really what we've seen in the goods producing sector, that demand for labor has gone down, which makes perfect sense because we're normalizing that services and goods dynamic within the US economy. So that's interesting. The other thing is too, is just as I mentioned, people are spending more money, companies are spending more money on their workers, which is great for the workers, fantastic. I mean, this is an example. Home Depot is spending $1 billion or anticipates to spend $1 billion this year more than they did last year so that they can retain workers. Just as a quick example. Now, the best news, bad news is of course that there are so many jobs available in the United States. This is the unemployment rate in the US. It's at 3.6%. But I will tell you, there's about 2 jobs for every person that's looking for a job. That's pretty incredible. That comes from the JOLTS survey, but that is a lot. And so I would say, like, if you're thinking about a recession in the United States, it's really hard to have a recession when the demand for workers is so strong. Keep that in mind as we go through some of this and we start to think about what the future holds. Now, I want to talk about what's going on as far as the Fed's reaction, because this is really important. Right? So let's talk about assets. Let's talk about when is the best time to invest in risky assets. It's when 2 things are happening. It's when the Federal Reserve is cutting interest rates and pumping out a bunch of money, and it's when the US government is doing the same thing, right? That's really stimulative. So if you want to do that, I'm going to get really technical here for the Federal Reserve. I'm going to talk about the yield curve. Ready? Here it is. My arm is the yield curve. And so this is the short end, this is the long end. If you want to stimulate the economy, you cut the short end, right? You drop that down, but then you got a problem here. So you need to start to push longer term rates down, but how do you do it? You buy Treasury securities and GSE debt. And that's exactly what the United States did. The Federal Reserve bought $5 trillion worth of securities. That's a lot of stimulus. That's impressive. And so they did get interest rates down across the entire yield curve. Now, they're doing the opposite. They're raising short-term rates and they're releasing those securities that they bought back onto the marketplace. This is creating a lot of problems within the financial system because it's happened so quickly. What this slide shows you is pretty incredible. It took us from 2016 to 2020 to raise interest rates, actually to 2019, so about 3.5 years, to raise interest rates 250 basis points in the United States. We've raised interest rates 450 basis points in less than a year. And I will tell you, there's a lot of risk managers out there, people that are in compliance, people that are doing the regulatory work at banks that have never experienced rates going up this fast. And so it doesn't surprise me that we've had all sorts of asset liability mismatches and problems because of that. Obviously, SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, is a shining example of that, amongst other things, about terrible mismanagement. But you get the understanding of like how fast things have changed. Now, as I mentioned, the Fed is releasing back into the marketplace a lot of securities. This is their balance sheet. This is how high it went. It went from $4 trillion to $9 trillion. Now it's going back the other way. $95 billion a month are going back into the marketplace. So that's creating a lot of cacophony, a lot of problems. As a matter of fact, the last time the Federal Reserve did this was back when I was in the government. So that was back in 2018. So there was all sorts of problems that happened in 2018, all sorts of volatility that was created, including in the financial markets, in the futures markets, and in the natural gas markets, if you can believe that as well. A lot of option crazy stuff that was going on. People picking up nickels in front of steamrollers, right, and getting paid, and then all of a sudden they get run over. And that's exactly what happened. So keep this in mind. volatility is going to continue for some time as the Fed raises rates. As a matter of fact, we had the European Central Bank raise interest rates today 50 basis points, despite some of the problems that are in the global financial system. So keep that in mind. The U.S. dollar has also been a beneficiary of this, interest rate regime in the United States. It's eased off a bit. I have the U.S. dollar index and the British pound there as an example of where things have gone. And you can see that the dollar strength has been pretty exceptional. I don't think that's going to continue going forward. I think the Fed will likely go on hold for a little bit. I don't think they're going to raise rates next week, 25 basis points. They may do it. It'll just be interesting to see what happens. But people are focused on the terminal rate, whatever they get to, and how long they stay there. That's really what matters when it comes to the Federal Reserve and what they do to the U.S. economy. So talking about the yield curve, right? The yield curve has been utilized for quite some time now, ever since the mid-'70s, as a harbinger for what can happen during a recession. In other words, when the yield curve inverts, as I kind of was showing like that, over a quarter, so if you have 3-month T-bills higher than 10-year yields, for a quarter, it has to be that length of time, the yield curve is 8 out of 8 predicting recessions. 8 out of 8. So now that's happened, right? That happened over the last 2 quarters last year. So people are saying, look, we're going to get a recession for sure. Keep that in mind for just a second. Let me move through this just a little bit. The Fed is breaking eggs. I want you to keep that thought in mind because we're going to talk about the future in just 2 seconds. So as I mentioned, SVB, but also they closed Signature Bank as well. Some people think, some of the conspiracy theorists out there think it's a way to really hurt the cryptocurrency world. And I would say no one needs to hurt the cryptocurrency world. They've done enough damage to themselves already. Like they don't need any help. So, but there is a race to figure out how to regulate that space. But anyway, it's just, this is what's going on. And of course, Credit Suisse is a fine example of what happens when you don't manage a bank well. They got a lifeline thrown to them at the end of the day yesterday by the central bank to the tune of $54 billion. So yes, so things have stabilized a little bit, but as Warren Buffett always likes to say, you don't know who's swimming naked until the tide goes out. Ladies and gentlemen, the tide has gone out. We're going to see who's swimming naked. All right, now, what's good news for Cayman is that a lot of your power comes from diesel. And so that's good news that diesel prices have come down. It's good news that gasoline prices have come down in the United States. If you're wondering about tourism and whether people feel comfortable coming down here, well, all you have to do is look at the price of gasoline. The price of gasoline is going up. Consumers feel really bad. They start cutting back on spending that they don't need to do, besides food and energy. But if that price starts to come down, then they feel a lot better. And guess what? The price of oil has gone down significantly over the last week. That's good news to some extent for consumers. It's bad news in the sense of what it tells us about China. It tells us about China is that China's economy is not recovering as fast as what most people hoped. So from a global standpoint, I don't think we're going to see as much growth out of China that people were thinking as they reopened. So these are kind of, again, indicators of what's going on in the global space, but this is really interesting and positive to some extent for the U.S. consumer. All right, the other thing that's good that's happened is, of course, the easing of supply chain problems. And this is a really interesting little index. This comes from the New York Federal Reserve. It's the Global Supply Chain Pressure Index. Now, I didn't get a chance to update this, but this is actually negative now, which is great news. In other words, container ships are a lot cheaper now than what they used to be, right? A container used to be $20,000 back at the peak in 2021 in December. Now it's $2,000. That's great news. But that also supports my point when I was talking about goods versus services. In other words, if there's not demand for using container ships to bring stuff over, that means there's not demand for those goods. So the economy in the United States is equalizing back to where it used to be. And this is emblematic of that. We also saw, just in January, we saw some really good numbers for retail sales. And we had about a 3% print on that. Now, some of that's going to go away because we had some unusual things happen in the United States. In January, there were these big COLA adjustments for Social Security. They were like plus 8%, plus a lot of other wage contracts reset at higher levels so consumers had more money. So this first quarter should be fairly robust as far as growth goes. Going forward, maybe not so much. All right, and of course, disposable income, that was up. This represents where the consumer was in January, up 1.4% for disposable income. That's great. But we also saw credit card debt go up. So that's not necessarily good overall, and that's on the right-hand side. It's kind of hard to see it, but it's in that orange picture there. You can see credit card debt go up. Down the road, that'll be problematic, but for right now, it's supporting consumer spending. And of course, this is the best news. Everybody in this room who's been down in this area knows this. The hotels have been really full. People going on spring break from Texas down in the Bahamas, we saw that. I'm not sure if it's happening here, but I feel like it is. There's a lot of people with children here. And this is great news. Globally, we've seen the U.S. recover faster as far as spending on tourism goes, which is great. Again, for this area of the world, it's fantastic. Hopefully this will continue going forward, but I also think that we've gone past the worst of this infectious disease outbreak. Doesn't mean we won't have another one. Bird flu comes to mind really quickly. If that jumps from birds to birds to birds to human, then you're gonna have another problem. But really, one of the best things I can tell you is, man, have we learned a lot about mRNA and vaccines. Some people believe that, maybe you don't need a vaccine. I respect that, but I've gotten every shot possible. Maybe it's just because I'm freaked out by it, but I also do a lot of travel, so I like to be, as shot up as possible, I guess. But the point is there's really good things going on in that space. The fact that we can get a cancer vaccine is really cool. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. All right, so let's talk about the future. Now, I have to do this. This is really important. I have a big economic secret to tell you. Ready? Here it is. Most economists are awful at predicting the economy. Absolutely awful. They're terrible. Go back to 2021 in December. What were they predicting for 2022 in the United States? 3% GDP growth. Global growth was going to be great, blah, blah, blah. What did we get? Negative GDP growth for the first 2 quarters. Now, in fairness to these people, they're really, really smart, but I'd like to think that they're just not humble enough. In other words, they have these beautiful, elegant models that they use, all sorts of squiggly lines. It's really kind of fun. What they miss is what I call the X factor on the end of them. That's where you have a plus or minus and an X of something that you feel like maybe the model doesn't pick up. Maybe things are stretched a little bit. Things are a little bit scary right now, or at extremes. And if something else would happen, then that X factor needs to get bigger and bigger and bigger just to give you that potential offset to anything positive you think that's happening. So now I have another secret for you. So back in 2007, I wrote a book called World Event Trading. No one read this book. I gave 2 copies to my parents. I'm pretty sure they use it as a doorstop someplace. But it came out during the global financial crisis, so everybody's like, who cares about those big events? But the first 5 chapters were on infectious disease outbreak and their impact on the markets and the economy. The next chapters were on short-term war. The next chapters were on disputed elections. This is what I'm talking about when I'm calling on an X factor for these models. This is what they're missing. So keep that in mind. So with all of that, I present to you what the status quo believes are going to happen this year. Yeah, most people think there's going to be a recession. So this is from The Economist magazine. I'm telling you, don't take it with a grain of salt. A can, an entire can, maybe even more, like a gallon jug, that you would bring around. Anyway, the point is look, these things are all subject to big changes. Getting back to the yield curve, right? So Kim Harvey is the man that came up with this. He's a professor down at Duke University. Heard an interview with him just about 2 weeks ago, and they asked him, do you think that the yield curve is still going to be the best predictor of a recession in the United States? And he said this: no, I don't. I mean, first of all, it's only 8 data points. And second of all, things are different this time. And what he pointed out to was this. Number one is that there's so many people demanding workers that it's really hard for the economy to sink when those workers get absorbed, or if, say, tech companies fire a lot of people. Everybody should be like, yay, tech companies fire people, because everybody needs those workers, right? They need people who can do CRM. They need people who can do coding, all of that stuff. It's a boon for every other industry out there that the tech sector is taking it on the chin right now. Those workers are getting those workers are getting absorbed really quickly. So that's good news overall, but it's hard for the economy to sink. Now, the other thing about the yield curve is that CEOs know what the yield curve is, and they know what it means for their businesses. So they adjust to that situation and say, look, maybe we shouldn't hire as many people. Maybe we shouldn't build that second plant. So it's kind of self-adjusting the fact that they know that this is happening. So there's some things like that that are going on. And then lastly, I'll talk about some government spending in just a minute, but these are the things. So even the guy that came up with the yield curve is saying, slow your roll. It doesn't mean that we're going to have a recession. Now, the one thing I will point out to you, the big unknown is what the Federal Reserve does. And here's what I mean by that. Right now, so the Federal Reserve looks at something called personal consumption expenditures, core personal consumption expenditures. Right now, that is at 4.7%. And typically, to get to neutral, you raise the Fed funds rate up to equal your inflation gauge. That's exactly what the Federal Reserve has done. So right now, we're at parity. In other words, we're neutral. We're neither stimulating nor taking money out of the system according to this. But we don't know what the Fed's going to do. And next week, we'll see a little bit more. Inflation's being pretty sticky. So if the Fed goes too far in raising interest rates, maybe the yield curve will tell us that it's having a recession. It's hard to say. They are kind of their own X factor to some extent. We're just not quite sure how they're going to react. The reason why I put caution on when it comes to the Federal Reserve is this. They totally screwed up. They totally screwed up. They knew in 2021 when the American Recovery Plan was being passed that was inflationary and that they were having problems. Don't take my word for it. I mean, I was writing about it back in February of that year. So was Larry Summers. So were a lot of really smart people saying, look, Fed, be very careful. We're seeing inflation go up. They thought it was transitory. And the reason why they thought it was transitory is because of the goods sector. They thought, oh, once the supply chain eases up, we're not going to have a problem. Well, that's not right. Obviously, we don't have enough workers in the United States. And some of the problems that we had from COVID, from shutting the borders, and from people retiring, there's about 4 million workers through those three things that we lost during COVID, and we're not getting those workers back. So we still, as the economy shifted and went back to kind of the way things were before and normalized, then all of a sudden the demand for those workers back into the service sector, there's just not enough of them. And so you have very sticky inflation because of that. So the Fed did what the Fed does all the time. They sit on their hands way too long, and then they rush to make up for that. And it's exactly what we've seen. And they're creating a lot of volatility because of that. So we really have to keep an eye on what they're going to do and what they're going to say going forward, as everybody knows in this room. I'm not sure what they're going to do. They've already screwed up, so my guess is they'll probably screw up again, keeping rates higher for longer. And I think that's the takeaway from this. So here's my overall view when it comes to the economy. Look, it's a mess, right? It's really tough to say, but I will tell you this, it's really hard to have a recession in the first half of this year. This is not going to happen in the United States. When it comes to China, WNK, you know what that means? We'll never know. Like, they won't tell us. They could be in recession right now, and we would never know. It's like telling us how many people died from, Delta. It's not going to happen. They're not going to tell us. We'll never know. So you have to caution when it comes to China. We're just not sure. But where does that show up? It shows up in demand for oil. And if they're not demanding as much energy, let's say from Russia, which is where they're getting a lot of their oil, then we know that they're not restarting at the level that we hoped for when it comes to the global economy. A lot of other things going on there. I do think inflation is going to ease off quite a bit towards the end of this year, but it's not going to get down to 2%. That core PC is not getting to 2%. We'd be lucky to get to 3%, to be honest. We're going to continue to see a lot of volatility. And I would say anything in the anything related to interest rates is going to have a hard time in the back half of this year in the United States and to some extent globally. We have not really seen a lot of commercial real estate reset. The leases are usually 5 to 7 years long. We still haven't seen those reset much. And the core business districts in major American cities, especially in the north, they've emptied out quite a bit. I don't know when the last time you were in New York or Chicago or LA or San Francisco or Seattle. It's not a pretty sight, to be quite honest. So we're not sure how that commercial real estate office leasing is going to work out, but I will tell you it's under pressure. We know from a housing affordability standpoint, from single family homes and things like that in the country, we know that's starting to dive pretty good because it's really just gotten so much more expensive to buy a home. And for the people that already own a home and maybe have a 3% mortgage, like, why would you sell your house? You'd have to sell your house at such a high level, at such a high price, to be able to absorb a 6.5% mortgage when you buy the new place. It's just not going to happen. So there's a dearth of homes available for sale. So the the housing market is a little bit locked up right now. And we know more supply is coming because a lot of people have been building. So we're going to keep an eye on this. But the back half of this year is just not going to be pretty in the housing market. All right. Woo! Here are the X factors that I have. Lots of them. From Joe Biden's health to bird flu to he's 80. Come on, right? I mean, Mitch McConnell fell down in a hotel recently, so why can't Joe Biden? I don't know. I mean, I hope not. I mean, we want the U.S. president to stay healthy for a long period of time. But, I mean, he's 80 years old. Now, he's got the best healthcare plan in the country, for sure, which is helpful. But there's a lot of other things that are going on, right? Let's say, I don't know, let's say if Russia downed one of the U.S.'s, drones, maybe that would cause, oh, wait a minute, that already happened. Right? So this is what I'm talking about, right? Mistakes. Mistakes can be made and bad things can happen. All right, let's jump into government spending and industrial policy because that's what's going on in the United States right now. I just want to walk you through 3 big spending plans. And just, again, the overview and the context for this is this money is not really getting out yet. In other words, whatever you think about the U.S. economy, maybe we have tightening of credit conditions for sure. That's going to happen because Silicon Valley Bank, smaller banks, anything below $250 billion, they're going to tighten up credits, their credit and lending standards. They have to, otherwise they're going to look horrible. So we know credit tightening is going to go on. That means they're not going to have as much liquidity out there. Things will slow down because of that. But as that's going on, this money is starting to move out from the federal government into a lot of different pockets in the U.S. economy, which is really great news. All right, the first one is the infrastructure plan, $1.2 trillion. This has not gotten out to the states yet. The process is the government, comes up with the plan, the Treasury writes the rules, they send it to the states have to write proposals for this and send it back to the Treasury. The Treasury has to approve that. That takes a while, and that's why we haven't seen much money flow out of it, so keep that in mind. This is where some of the money is going. You can understand that a lot of it goes into mitigation of greenhouse gas emissions, trying to reduce that down or trying to adapt to what's going on in climate change. So there's a lot of money flowing there. Eventually there will be. Now on the Inflation Reduction Act, which is completely misnamed, but it has $369 billion for climate. Ladies and gentlemen, as far as the United States goes, that's the largest we've ever decided to spend on climate. It's amazing. And there's so many good things that are going to come out of this, especially on the research side. It's fantastic. Now, subsidies are not good overall because why? They're impossible to get rid of as policy. Like, what's the simplest solution for climate and for greenhouse gases? It's to tax it, to tax carbon. But nobody has the political wherewithal to do that. So we're not going to do that, so we subsidize things, and this is where we got to get to go. The CHIPS and Science Act, this is also a big spend, about $80 billion to subsidize, again, subsidies work like companies have to just engage in that behavior and they get the money. So it's different from the infrastructure spending plan where you have to apply and so on. So that money can get out a lot faster. But I'm telling you, the people in Ohio are very excited by this because Intel's building an $80 billion fab factory in the middle of Ohio to produce the chips that the subsidies direct us to produce. We want to get more chips produced in the United States. Taiwan Semiconductor is building a plant down in Phoenix. There's 2 other plants that are going in down near Austin. You can understand this is going to supercharge that industry. Now, there's also, we just passed a $1.7 trillion spending bill with a lot of money dedicated towards defense, Ukraine, and disaster relief. So that's, to some extent, good news, but that's the full context of how much money is been allocated into the U.S. economy. It's a lot. And so that's good news because it's going to come at a time, as I keep saying over and over, when we're likely to see the U.S. economy slowing down. Now, from a trade standpoint, obviously, I should take away conflict with Taiwan and just put conflict with Taiwan, conflict with Russia, conflict with the rest of the world. China is I think from the United States standpoint, we're really evaluating what China's role is and how we want to approach that. They're not a strategic competitor anymore. They're just a competitor, and maybe not, and maybe even as much, you could say, as an adversary. I would say this, prior to this year, like in 2020 and 2021, many people were very, very positive on China because they managed the COVID extraordinarily well. They kept their country running. They did some very good things from an economic growth standpoint. Now it's a very different story. From that standpoint, Delta ran through. They had to allow that to occur, so that washed through the economy. It shut it down again. The shutting down, like think about Shanghai. They had 2 million people shut down where you could not even go out of your apartment for about a month. That's really bad. And that's where you saw these protests. That's pretty amazing. The other thing about China that's changed recently, of course, is President Xi is now President Xi for life. Pretty much. Right? He's got 2 years going to the third term. Now he's going to go 4. And that's interesting. That gives you continuity of command and leadership, but it also provides you an opportunity to really mess up. Because if you don't have an election, like we do in the United States, I'll just keep using the U.S. as an example, as messy as our country is, right, as a complete train wreck as it is when it comes to some of this stuff, at least you get the opportunity to vote new people in. You don't have that opportunity in China. And the best example of failed policy, I think that Chinese would admit to you, of course, is one child. That's really going to be, from a demographic standpoint, it's really going to hurt that country for a long period of time. And it's not like, it's not like you can go hire engineers and then produce a lot of babies. It doesn't work that way, right? No. And so if you look at the people there, like the younger people, they don't want to start a family. Why would you want to start a family and have a child? Because you have older parents that probably are living with you. You've been through COVID shutdowns, and maybe jobs aren't as available. Real estate prices have dropped. You've got all sorts of these problems. Like if you think millennials in the United States are like kind of weirded out by all this stuff, think about that in China. Why would you create a family? Like why would you bring a child into this world when all of that kind of bad stuff is going on? I hope they do, don't get me wrong, but it's really hard when you shut things down, you can't restart them up. So keep that in mind. Those are 3 things that I think are going to hurt China going forward significantly. One other thing, just really quickly, there's a lot of plastic in the ocean, in case you didn't know. This is a real problem. Now, the UN has come up with a legal structure which they want to put forward to the UN, but I will tell you, Canada and California already have laws banning single-use plastic. Now, that's really important from a number of standpoints. Both are being legally challenged, but I just point this out because we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Let's talk really quickly, since I brought up the messy bit about the United States and the elections. The best thing I can tell you about the U.S., right, going through January 6th and just how, wild that was, I'm sure everybody who's outside of the country is scream, right? This is crazy. This is the country that we want to be strong and to be, productive and growing, goes through this. It's it reminds you of other countries that have had protests and gone from being a representative government and a democratic government to a authoritarian regime. The best news I will tell you is this: we survived. The Constitution survived a stress test about how it's supposed to work, and it passed. That's great news. And that's what elections are all about. Let me just give you an example. So President Trump, former President Trump, lost. Now, that doesn't mean he went away, of course. No. In 2022, he put forward a whole bunch of candidates, right, that were had to, bend the knee and feel to him about the election was stolen. Those candidates got elected in the primary, and almost all of them lost during the election. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about elections matter. The American people chose not to vote for those people. And so that's good news to the extent that, the election was not stolen. And that's really the positive news I can bring you today. Let me walk you through a couple of things. So this is the midterm impact, right? So the Republicans should have cleaned house. They should have won the House and they should have won the Senate. What did they get? A very slim majority in the House, and they lost the Senate. Now, this is a list of the stuff that they're trying to do. The bottom line is this. This is a problem right now. We're not quite sure how they're going to solve this because it doesn't seem like we're going to be able to come to some kind of compromise. This will create all sorts of volatility in the summer. Somewhere between July and September, we're going to have a debt ceiling discussion because we're going to hit it. And you can't do extraordinary things anymore. You actually have to raise the debt ceiling. How they compromise, I'm not quite sure. But I would say August 8th is my kind of drop dead date for when that happens, so you want to keep that in mind. I think it'll get kicked to, they'll raise the debt ceiling enough to get to September 30th. That's when the new budget has to come, and so they'll have some kind of compromise. But man, I mean, it's going to feel horrible. It'll feel like January 6th all over again. I'm actually pretty fun to have at cocktail parties. You know, I don't always talk like really down and bummer and, you know, right? Like this is what my wife tells me. Anyway, all right, so these are the contenders and pretenders. I would just say this, you know, Governor DeSantis, I think everybody's kind of familiar with down here, he's made his first error by saying that the Ukraine war was a regional he didn't use conflict. I forget, what was the word that he used? It was in conflict. It was something along those lines. Wow. Regional conflict, really. We're providing billions of dollars, and it's really at the doorstep of Europe. And it's an existential threat for all the Baltic states. And anybody that's ringing around the Ukraine, and it's a regional thing, I don't think so. If China actually steps up and provides material to the Russians for this war, then things get very, very dicey very quickly, and DeSantis will look kind of silly. So let's see how he manages this going forward, but wow. So a lot of things are going to happen. We're going to see a lot more people coming forward over the next 3 to 4 months. President Biden will announce that he's running sometime in April, maybe April 1st, April Fool's Day. That would be good. Do you know why he's not going to report to them? Because he won't say that, because if you say you're going to run prior to April 1st, then you have to talk about your fundraising. You have to report that to the Elections Committee on how much money you raised in that quarter. So he won't do it. So let's start in April, just so you know. But plan on it. His budget just came out, and that number is wrong. It says $2 trillion tax plan. It's a $4.7 trillion tax plan, believe it or not. Lots of stuff going on there. Who actually watched the State of the Union in the United States? Anyone? Okay. I watched it, sadly. I'll tell you, and I got to say this as somebody who I worked in the Trump administration, so just to be clear about this, but let me tell you about Joe Biden. He looked good. He looked vibrant. He looked ready for a fight. He got Republican, he poked the Republicans and they responded perfectly for him to look good. So he's still got it going on. I mean, he's going to be formidable when it comes to running for election. And remember, U.S. presidents who win their first term, it's unusual for them to lose their second term. So keep that in mind. And this is where he's going. He wants to raise taxes. He wants to do all sorts of things. That matters for everybody in this room, because if he wants to raise taxes, he's got to raise taxes not only on individuals, but also on corporations. I mean, we have a 21% tax rate under the TCJA. So let's keep that in mind. All right, let's quickly talk about trends, and then I'll jump into where I see growth opportunities. This is really interesting, this slide. There's two things going on here. So work from home or work from anywhere is averaging about 1.5 days per week. Now, it's stabilized at that. It's come down a little bit recently, but it's still 1.5 days a week. What does that mean for tourism? It means that you get 4-day weekends. That's fantastic for tourism. And it also means that people can work from anywhere if they have good Wi-Fi. So it presents a lot of positive opportunities if you're in the land of tourism. That's great, or a hotel, or so on. More people can get the opportunity to take that long weekend and come down here. That's fantastic. It's not the only thing that goes on down here, obviously, but that's something that's positive. The other thing that's really interesting in the States is that, so the Census Bureau does like a 10-year kind of accounting of where people are, where they live, and that sets how many representatives there are for elections and a lot of other things, government spending as well. But that's not the only thing the census did, right, the Bureau. What they did was really interesting. So from 2020 to 2021, they tracked where U.S. citizens migrated within the United States. And then they did it again in 21 to 22. That's what you're seeing here. And we saw for the first time people leave California. I mean, that's really unusual. But we saw more migration from the north, right, from the Midwest, from New York, from New Jersey, down to the south, down to North Carolina, where I live, South Carolina, Florida, Texas, Arizona, and some of the mountain states. Now, as I always tell people who are either in retail or selling services or whatever, like, hey, it's so much easier to make money where there's more people, right? Bottom line, if they're all moving to those states, well, that's where you should have some services, or at least think about advertising in those places. So think about that. It's really pretty interesting. And it's, again, why I want you to get these slides. You can see them yourself. So weather volatility, I mean, after Hurricane Dorian, I don't think I need to belabor this, but California's being inundated right now with an atmospheric river that's just been incredible. Now, just really quickly, when it comes to this, I will tell you that that climate change, like, it's interesting. It's not, the reaction of it is not necessarily that the world warms up. It does. But what it does, especially in the States, is that it slowed the jet stream down. And that means storms and weather patterns just sit there forever. And that's what's going on in California right now. They've got the same kind of weather pattern that's rolling through there. They had the same weather pattern before, except that was a drought. So weather volatility is continuing to go on. And that's something important. I want to get to that in a minute. In the developed markets, in the United States, we're running these massive deficits. They're going to ease up, but the amount of debt that we have is truly crazy. $31 trillion in debt. At some point, everyone's going to come to Jesus and go, you know, we need to do something about this. We need to either raise taxes, cut spending, or both. So let's see where this ends up. But on the raising taxes side, obviously, that's something that everybody in this room should be interested in, and seeing how these countries manage this and what they do, perhaps to make this area of the world a little bit more formidable when it comes to companies who want to not pay those taxes, or at least not pay as much taxes as those countries are going to throw on them. So let's see what happens. All right, it's a quiz. This is a quiz time. You ready for this? Here we go. What is that? What is that? I'll give you a hint. It's in Florida. I'll give you another hint. Ready? It's in St. Petersburg. That didn't help, really? Okay. One more hint. Salvador Dali. It's the Salvador Dali Museum in St. Petersburg, Florida. Why do I have that up there? That thing, which was just recently built, sits about 100 yards from the ocean. Look at the structure of that thing. What does it look like? A big box with some weird eyes sticking out of it, right? That thing can withstand, I think, about 45 to 50 feet of water. This is what I'm talking about. Money flows towards adaptation. We need more adaptation than we do, to some extent, mitigation. We've already baked in the cake 1.5 Celsius as far as where we're going to end up. That's going to happen. We're already pumping that much stuff into the atmosphere. What we need to do is really adapt to the violent weather that we have. We need to make things a lot safer. The U.S. is doing that to the bipartisan infrastructure plan. That's spending that's going to be well spent. But we need to start thinking about commercial real estate, especially around the coasts. Everybody in this room should be well aware. But start thinking about this, like, you know, where is my office? Where are my suppliers? Where do they have their offices? Where is the major warehouse for getting food, let's say, to come into this hotel? Are they protected? Do they have, you know, a backup generator? I mean, these are the kind of things that are really interesting to start thinking about along the lines of adaptation. And that's really what I want you to get out of it this morning. Think about how can we adapt to this really massively changed weather pattern that we're experiencing. Now, there are a lot of opportunities out there for the Bahamas, obviously, because of the kelp beds that they have there. They could potentially get carbon offsets. That would be a really interesting revenue stream for that government. It would help them significantly if that's where things went. Now, there's a lot of carbon trading initiatives and carbon pricing initiatives. That's what that other multicolored screen is. As a matter of fact, at andrewbush.com, if you go on the research, we go through all of the carbon trading programs that are out there through different states, through different countries. So if you want to do a deeper dive, you can do that. But it's an opportunity. Not quite sure how it plays out everywhere in the world, but these are kind of the interesting things. Again, it's money flowing. Where is it going? Where will that end up? That presents the opportunity. And to that extent, I mean, TCJA, at the end of that happens in 2025. From a tax standpoint, like that's what that next election in 2024 is all about. The TCJA, that was the Tax Cut and Jobs Act that was passed in 2018, dramatically and permanently lowered corporate tax rates in the United States. But it lowered individual tax rates, but not permanently. They sunset in 2025. So that's really what, and we get into that election, you're going to hear a lot about that, that act. And I will tell you, if President Biden wins, he will take the House and the Senate. I almost guarantee it. And that means they'll push through this stuff. Why? Because under the budget, you don't need 60 votes in the Senate. You just need a majority. It's a little different kind of nuanced component of our Congress. But that's how you can pass tax bills without having a supermajority or a majority. Well, no, you got a majority, but not a 60-seat majority. So you don't need to have 60 seats to cut off debate. You can just do it through what we call budget reconciliation, which is really interesting. So keep that in mind. Now, there's a lot of interesting things going on. It just cracks me up that so many of the countries in the Netherlands, so many countries in the Caribbean were blacklisted by the Netherlands. You don't find that humorous? I mean, the Netherlands are one of the biggest tax havens in the world, right? It's the pot calling the kettle black, right? Anyway, all right. I won't make too much fun of the Netherlands, good people, but obviously it's kind of a competitive tax situation to some extent. There's a lot of other things going on. A global minimum tax, if that ever takes off, changes the game. Obviously, surging debt is the opposite side of that equation because the U.S. needs to have raise revenues. And just an example of this, in a very short period of time, by 2025, the amount of money that we will spend in the United States on supporting the debt will be larger than our defense spending is, at $800 billion a year. So something's got to break there. Something's got to happen. All right, I know Kevin's going to talk about this. The best thing I can tell you is, and DAR is the Bahamian structure for the regulatory when it came to cryptos, but the best thing I can tell you about cryptos overall is that, and this really pertains to Bitcoin, is that it's never been hacked. Now think about that for a second. Theoretically, this is just an amazing product or technological development using game theory actually within the mining component of it that works. Now, wallets have been hacked. Obviously, FTX is a great example of a collapse of an entity. Signature Bank as well. So there's all sorts of problems associated with this industry, shall we say. But what an opportunity to come up with a regulatory framework that you could actually apply and have it work really well. You can set the standard for the rest of the world by doing that and attract that talent and those companies. So I think there's an opportunity here. Now, this is where I'm going to give you my crystal ball. My crystal ball is venture capital money. And venture capital doesn't look at the next year or two. It looks 5 and 10 years down the road. It's hard to see this. I apologize. The slides are, a little bit small for this room, but that's why I want you to download them. The bioeconomy is extraordinary what's going on in it. And just as an example, so in agriculture, I'm not even going to talk about medicines, but in agriculture, they are developing corn plants that can hold on to more carbon in their roots for a longer period of time. That's pretty cool. That gets it out of the air and puts it into the ground. No tilling, right? That whole process also keeps it in the ground longer. Just as an example, that's in agriculture. And I would say I mentioned the cancer vaccines, this is what we're going to see. We're going to learn and see so many things happen in such a short period of time. This is super exciting, believe it or not. And I want you to take a look at these companies that are getting funding. Take a look at what they're doing. see if there's an opportunity to do business with them or do business with any of their suppliers. That's what's pretty cool about this. Who's used ChatGPT? Really? Only that many? Let's get going, people. This is the coolest thing out there. I want you to, when we're done today, I want you to go use it. Not only is ChatGPT cool, but they just put out the next version of it, which has video and pictures. So it's not just text. This is really interesting stuff. This is where, when it comes to AI, like, it's extraordinary the rapid changes that are going to occur. They're already happening in the financial system, but across so many different industries. Education has changed forever. I don't think, like, from a professional or professor standpoint, or even a high school standpoint, there's no way you can ever send a kid home to write a term paper. You can't, because they'll just go to ChatGPT and put it in there, and then and you can't tell if it's been written by the. I mean, maybe you can because the student's not a very good writer, right? But I mean, that's where we're at. And then there's all sorts of other things that are coming with this. So, one of the things that I want to put out there, because there's a lot of financial services people here, right? This is something I want you to mess around with. It's called VALL-E, V-A-L-L-E. Microsoft has this. They're playing around with it a little bit. This is a service or an AI that you'll speak into it, it will take your voice, and it will be able to reproduce your voice in many different languages. But it's kind of dangerous. I mean, not only from the standpoint of a lot of fake stuff, right? Videos or whatever, but think about this. Any financial services have the ability for you to call the customer to call in and do a transaction? Yeah, so guess what? You can use it, and one of the reporters that were using it actually tricked their Financial Services Institute to actually get money out of it using a recorded voice. These are the challenges that are happening. This is why you got to play around with ChatGPT. I've listed about 10 different AIs here, but I want you to start thinking about and reading up on this stuff because the changes are coming so fast, it's even hard for somebody me to keep up on this stuff. And wow, is it going to change industries. Every sector of the economy. Again, I'm really pretty fun at parties. But it's a chaotic world, right? I mean, it's crazy out there. And so it feels like everything's coming at us so fast. But I think for today, what I've hoped is that I've provided you with a little bit of a framework, a little bit of better understanding, some context to understand these changes, and really where to do your own homework going forward. So that's what I hope you can do. Here are the slides again. I'm Andy Bush, economic futurist, and I'll take a few questions. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Did the ball tell you where we're going?
Yeah.
We're going to the white seats.
Yes, white seats. Very good.
Great presentation, Andy. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gillian Nunes. I'm the president of RF Merchant Bank Barbados Limited, and I'll be facilitating the question and answer segment with Andy today. You guys know how this works. We have our mic runners in the audience looking for your hands, so please raise your hands if you have a question. If you feel like shaking it like you don't care, that's fine too. We'll see you better. But in the meantime, Andy, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So you had a great slide up on Silicon Valley Bank, and Ron reminded us this morning that this is not an insignificant event. It's certainly the largest bank failure since the 2008 financial crisis.
Correct.
It's the second largest failure in American history. But also they catered for a very specialized clientele. So the question is, do you think that the failure of Silicon Valley Bank will change Federal Reserve policy?
It could. It could allow them to pause next week. Some of the economic data we've had out already could give them that, ability to do that. SVB is just a shining example of complete asset liability mismanagement. I mean, it shows what happens when a company grows rapidly and is focused into one sector of the economy. Really just, and the other stories we're getting out about it, I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but every time a story comes out about this, it just cracks me up. So many of their top officers were not working in the bank. They were like in Florida. They were like in Hawaii. I mean, it's just astonishing. The CEO was the head of their risk committee for 8 months last year. That's something you never want. You got to have other people doing it. So there are a lot of problems with this. It could cause the Fed to pause for sure. I will see what they want to do. But the fact that the ECB went 50 basis points today and wasn't that concerned about it, I'd say tilted towards 25 basis points next week.
Okay. I'm going to shift gears a little, talk about the upcoming elections. Do you think that the U.S. economy is better in the hands of a Democratic or a Republican administration?
Well, it's a little bit hard to say right now because we don't know who the Republicans are going to run just yet. So we don't know what their policies are. So I will say wait and see. We've seen what President Biden has done. He's done some really good things, but the debt bill is coming due. I mean, they have to figure out a way to adjust this. I'm not sure another 4 years of President Biden will be great in that sense. I don't expect the U.S. economy to grow rapidly like we have done after COVID. I would expect the U.S. economy to start to slow down in the back half of this year, maybe next year, running at like 1.5% to 2%. I just can't see it growing a lot more than that. So I would say by the time 2024 rolls around, those elections, we could see inflation coming off, but we'll also see a growth coming off. So that'll be a big topic of discussions, and we'll see what each side presents as far as growth plans going forward.
Okay. Okay, so we've also seen historically where world empires have collapsed due to either internal strife or an external threat. I'm reminded of an article in the Times about a year or so ago where the writer said that there's no advanced industrial democracy in the world more politically divided or politically dysfunctional than the US. Than the US is today, and that was about a year ago. When you couple that now with the threat posed by China, for example, do you think it's imminent that the US will lose its position as the world's leader? And if so, what does the crystal ball say in terms of when and how this will play out?
So the answer is no. You spend $800 billion a year on defense, it's kind of hard to fall, right? And so from a military standpoint, we'll be able to project power for a long period of time. Economically, yes, there's some definite problems there for sure. And the best thing I can tell you is what I said earlier is that we've gone through a stress test for the U.S. People are calling for potential civil war. Really don't get elections in the United States. They're messy, they're loud, they're cacophony. It seems like the world is falling apart. And yet, here we are. We elect new leaders. That's the difference between our country and, say, Russia and China. So I think, longer run, we've survived as a representative government. I mean, normal representative governments or democracies fail frequently. Ours has not. So that Constitution is really robust. The framers of the Constitution did an amazing job. So I would say no. It just will feel bad for a while, for sure. So I disagree with that. I don't know if that was Ray Dalio from Bridgewater saying civil war is going to happen in the United States. And
right.
Don't believe that. That's just, it's nonsense.
Okay, good. Now, I want to turn to the audience with some questions, but can somebody just confirm if this is the correct time for me?
It is.
It is, okay.
Right.
So
let's just one or two questions.
Let's catch them. Okay, we have a gentleman there and then a lady on this side as well.
Thank you. Dynamic presentation, sir. It also strikes me from a banking perspective that this whole thing with the Silicon Valley Bank and the US regulatory system being a little bit loose, whereas offshore centers like Cayman Islands have a whole lot of different red tape and regulation and due diligence and oversight. My real question is in relation to insurance, property insurance and reinsurance. In view of all of the disasters, North America, Europe, and elsewhere, can the reinsurance world market survive? And if not, what are the alternatives?
It's all about price. Price and risk, right? The United States, especially in Florida, they've begun to reprice the insurance that they have. That is, the insurer of last choice, or essentially like the Federal Reserve. Florida has a really big problem because they've actually from the United States, the FEMA flood insurance program, as you probably know, the prices have gone up. They still don't reflect what the market should be. We still are encouraging way too much development along the coast. That's not a good idea. Eventually, that's got to catch up. The insurers have dropped out of much of Florida and along the Gulf, as you know. So FEMA's the insurer of last choice. I don't know how long that's going to last. We continue to subsidize building along those coasts, and it just doesn't make any sense. So I think it's going to be challenging. I think privately, the private insurers are doing exactly what they should do. They analyze the risk and they go, you know what, we don't want to be part of that. That's a mess, so we're going to step back from that. So I don't know, we'll see how it plays out, but as long as the U.S. government is funding people rebuilding their homes, like in Sanibel Island, where it got pretty much wiped out, you know, people will continue to do that. How long this lasts, I don't know, but I know it's reaching a point where the more storms we have, the stronger the storms are, and the more money that costs on top of the debt that we already have. Hopefully, we'll have a rethink about that.
Are we going to squeeze one more in? Yes, go right ahead.
That last one.
Yeah, mine will be quick. So on the heels of that, U.S. default, like what is the likelihood? I know low, but what would have to happen in order for that for that black swan to come to pass?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, it's hurting cats, right, in the House of Representatives, and it's Speaker McCarthy's got to get this small number of Republicans that he has a majority with to agree to raising the debt ceiling. But I would also say this, he doesn't necessarily have to do that. He could get enough Republicans and Democrats to go along with it to do it, but it will cost him his speakership. I mean, he will not be speaker. As soon as they pass that, they'll vote him out. Now, maybe he decides to be a leader for the country. That would be great, because that's where he needs to go. So that's always an option. And then, I don't know who will raise their hand to be Speaker of the House. I would not. I would keep my hand down, because that's a tough job. But that's what I think. I mean, I think there's a path forward. Like I said, I think, you know, they'll kick it to the end of September. But if they don't come to an agreement, that would be catastrophic for any length of time. I think it'll just create a lot of uncertainty. People will reprice U.S. government debt not to be completely risk-free. That's bad for the rest of the world too, not only because of the amount of debt, but that's how people usually base what they view the world as far as risk-free debt. And that means all the other debt around the world has to start to take a haircut as well and start to put the risk premium, raise the risk premium for their debt too. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer.
Great. Okay, so before we ask you your final thoughts, we're going to look at the results of our second poll question. The question was, how well positioned is your business or employer to withstand another significant shock today? Oh, that's encouraging. 77% said, great. Yeah, great. So we learned a few lessons coming out of COVID. Great. So Andy, 30 seconds, final thoughts.
Yeah, spend a lot of time on AI, please. I mean, there's so much going on in this space. Like, I spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about this because it is changing every sector of the economy, but I really encourage you to do more work in this. I know it's on top of everything else that you got to do, but I think you'll find it fascinating, terrifying, but really interesting overall.
Thank you so much. Can we give Andy a final round of applause?
Hello, I'm Kevin Watler, and this is your CMR Daily Buzz. Here's a summary of some of Cayman's latest headlines. Police arrested the driver of a white Escalade, which was involved in a fatal collision Tuesday night. The driver left the scene of the collision, however, several persons were able to identify him. CMR understands that 47-year-old Kent Rankin was arrested in connection with the fatal crash. The man killed in the crash was 25-year-old Daniel McFarlane. Meanwhile, the Cayman Islands Fire Service is accused of hitting another vehicle west of Belmont Close on Crew Road while responding to Tuesday night's fatal crash in Frank Sound. According to eyewitnesses, a part of the fire truck was embedded in the vehicle. CMR is told that the fire department did not stop to check on the occupants, which included a female driver, her young child, and an elderly woman. Now for an update on Tuesday's broad daylight jewelry store armed robbery. Police arrested 3 men and recovered jewelry in relation to the armed robbery that took place at the International Diamond Center on Seafarers Way. It was reported that 3 masked men entered the store, one armed with a firearm and another used an object to break into the display cases at the store and stole several items. The men fled the scene in a white Honda CR-V, which was also located. His Excellency the Governor Martin Roper received a warm send-off Tuesday afternoon from the Cayman Islands Civil Service headed by the Deputy Governor, the Honorable Franz Manderson. Mr. Manderson will now act as governor until career diplomat Jane Owen takes over as governor. She's expected to begin her role next month. The Cayman Islands has again proven it is the perfect location for open water racing, hosting the first leg of the Pan Am Aquatics Open Water Series on Grand Cayman's world-famous 7 Mile Beach from March 3rd to 5th. Now for your CMR weather update, it's brought to you by WG Charters. Sunrise at 6:21, mostly sunny skies today, when the temperature's at 85 degrees Fahrenheit and humidity at 69% like the forecast calls for. It will feel like it's in the high 80s. Winds east-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour, and the sun sets at 6:39. At nighttime, the temperature falls to the mid-70s. Looking forward, similar weather conditions are expected. If you would like to know more on any of these stories, visit CaymanMallRoad.com or follow Cayman Mall Road on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. That's it for now on the Daily Buzz. Thank you for joining me. Please stay safe and God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.